We retire and then die the next day. That's what we do. So that's why you see dentists work until they're 85. It's like, stop.
That's why Bobby Bowden didn't want to retire.
Oh.
Because the same thing happened to Bear Bryant.
Well, they say if you retire and don't stay active, you got like 8 years. I feel like we should be interviewing right now.
So, Dr. Nolan, welcome to Fuller Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you were concerned that we might not have more than an hour's worth of things to talk about.
I did. I asked you, how long do I have to be interesting? And you said 9 hours. I was like, got about 10 minutes.
I think we could do three-hour episodes. So
yeah,
we'll start with one, one episode. But yeah, I'm questioning whether we can fit it all in 3 hours. So you're more interesting than you think you are.
Okay. Thank you. We'll see about that. I'll buy anybody a cup of coffee who gets all the way through it.
There you go.
That's a deal.
That's a good motivator.
Right.
Well, Dr. Nolan, thank you again for being here. And I usually let my guests introduce themselves. So I'll just ask you, Dr. Nolan, how do you introduce yourself these days?
Kathy's husband.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, around Trinitas especially, you'd introduce yourself and they'd give you a blank stare, and which is fine. I don't expect anybody to know me, but as soon as I say, yeah, my wife's the librarian, oh, you're Kathy's husband. I'm like, yeah, that's me. So she's obviously more known around the school than I am. Anyway, that's generally how I do it. And then Ed, like I've tried to get you to call me.
I know it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. It'll be okay. You'll see. But anyway, it depends on the age and where I know them from. If I'm at my office, it's Dr. Nolan. That's the way I introduce myself. And, around church, I get called Mr. Nolan. That's fine. I'm not going to correct you. So, but Ed's good.
Fix this.
He's left already. That's how interesting I am. Yeah, right. That's all he had to say. It's a really interesting collection you have over there between the trucks and the Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Is that just all the sizes the Pellegrino make? Let's see.
Is it all what?
All the sizes they make? It's just
that I'm aware of.
Your little showcase.
Yeah. All right. We're back in business, I think.
Yay. Is that Windows or is it a Mac?
It's a Mac.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you a Windows or a Mac guy?
I'm a Mac guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, since probably 89, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, way
One
back.
of the originals.
Way back when they were super expensive.
Yeah. Was that the Apple II back then?
I had, my first one was what was it, SE2? No, it's a good question. I forget the first one, but it had a whole 40 megabyte hard drive.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, I'll never fill that.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? 40 megabytes.
The first machine my dad bought for our house was a Windows machine, 3.1 or whatever was the thing then, and it was a 486, and we had a 340 megabit hard drive. So,
well, I upgraded to a 320 megabyte eventually. Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I know you've got single files that are bigger than 320 megabytes. I mean, easily.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the still photos these days are 40 megabytes.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we've come a long way.
We sure have.
Well, apologies for that. But
no.
We should be ready to rock and roll the rest of the time now. So, well, it's interesting that Mrs. Nolan is known more than you now at Trinitas.
Listen, I'm totally good with that. It is. It's like when I have to get up and speak somewhere and I say goofy things like I always do. I get to sit back down next to her and have some dignity. It's like I'm really with her, and so everything's good. So,
Yeah. Well, we love you guys, and we're thankful for your impact on Trinitas, and it just keeps bearing fruit. In our family, and I know in the community at large. So
God's been good.
Yeah. I'd like to get into that at some point. Yeah. I know there's a big story there.
Yeah. There's a story, but it's just amazing how God works through things and people. And it's not, believe me, it's not just us by a long shot.
Yeah. Well, maybe we just dive right into that since we're here.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the founding of Trinitas and how that came about and your role in it?
Yeah, we were at another Christian school. I won't say their name, but it was East Hill Christian School. So. But anyway, Gary Cumberland. Do you know Dr. Cumberland?
I've seen him and met him, I think, at like the reunion, the 25-year.
Right. Yeah, he was there. So he and I were on the board, and at some point we hired Ken Trotter, who was working at PJC at that point, PSC, whatever. I think it was he was working in career development or something. He's helping students. Anyway, like Ken does. But we hired him as assistant principal there. And then some events happened. Actually, Scott Mayo, you may not know him, but he gave me Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning. And I read that and I thought, well, this is great. Let's try to steer the school that direction. But so I gave everybody on the board a copy of that. And it was I'll back up and say it's probably the most dysfunctional board I've ever been on. They had their hands in everything at the school. I think there were 17 board members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot.
That's a large board.
Scott Mayo used to say sometimes it's easier to smell a rotten egg than to lay a new one. That's kind of what happened there. We just tried to back into classical, it just didn't take.
That was your introduction to classical education?
It was, yeah, Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning. And when I started talking to, obviously, Ken Trotter, and I think he was already homeschooling his kids using a lot of classical methods, and it was totally foreign to me at that point, didn't know anything about it. But some events happened at that school, and Ken kind of had his legs cut out from under him, and the three of us, Ken and Gary and I, just started talking about, we'd already enrolled our kids at Alethea at that point because we knew we were leaving East Hill. But anyway, we just started discussing the possibility of starting school, and we were at my office and my private office at the back of my dental office, but and Ken, I think, went to the restroom, and Gary and I were just talking. He goes, "Do you think we can pull this off?" I don't know. This was in, I think, May, and we were talking about starting in September. We had nothing.
Yeah.
Not a place to meet, no teachers, nothing. So anyway, we decided to go ahead and do that, and so we did. We went to the ACCS conference, and we all piled into our Suburban and drove to Austin, Texas. Didn't know them. Thought this could be the longest trip ever. That's just horrible. But it just turned into such a good time, and we bonded very, very quickly. Anyway, we bought our curriculum there. We ended up hiring some of our first teachers. Shannon Nagel, I think, may have been our first hire. I don't know if you remember Miss Nagel. Anyway, she moved along, got married, and like our teachers
As
do.
they do, yeah.
Yes, right. Like we're hoping they do. But anyway, so we did. We started that fall, and started at the church on Olive Road. What was the name of that church? Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's still on Olive Road there, and they're doing fine. But we met in their sanctuary. We had a couple other rooms, but we divided the sanctuary up into a couple of rooms. And I did kind of what you did, put snap walls up. So I'd go up on Sunday afternoon after they were through a church, put all those walls back up. So there were little classrooms in there. But started off with, I think it was 26 students.
Okay.
And so it was just me and Gary on the board for several years until Bob McGee came along, and we made him a board member, and then it just grew from there.
Yeah.
So we didn't really invent any of the wheel. We copied a lot of what other schools were doing, some of their documents and that kind of thing, and most of it was applicable to us. And Ken Trotter was obviously the brains behind it. So he was, we couldn't, obviously it wasn't going to happen without him.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary and I didn't bring much to the table.
Oh, I doubt that's true.
Yeah. But you needed somebody who knew education and knew, even their state requirements. Gary and I wouldn't have known that, but
yeah,
all the anything about the educational part of it was Ken Trotter. Now we had all read and we had made required reading. I think most of it's still there on the parent list, things you're supposed to read as a parent. So
yeah,
we'd read all of that, and we gradually became acquainted with classical education and what that meant, and how to implement that. But was Ken Trotter. And I think the most attractive thing to me when I first started talking to Ken was there was just a plan from K-5 or whatever. It went from childhood to adulthood. It all made sense. The grammar, logic, rhetoric just kind of went along with the stages of the child's development, their natural development. Anyway, again, it just made sense. And it just seemed to me so much of education up to that point was just kind of pot shot. It was like, well, let's just get all the math in, and we want to be here with the math, and and we want to be here with history, but again, with classical, it just made sense.
Yeah.
So, as a product of the government schools myself, I think it was probably, I was probably in my second or third year of graduate school before I had heard the same thing in 2 different classes.
Oh, wow.
That's just a little strange when you think about it. Mm-hmm. So, and I didn't think about it till classical, but you've got this part over here, and you're hearing similar things in different classrooms.
Yeah.
It all tied together. So nothing tied together until I was well into graduate school.
Yeah. And you think about how many times you have to hear something really before it sticks.
Exactly. And how did these 2 things relate to each other? Mm-hmm. It just wasn't, it was just a bunch of facts up to that point. At least it was to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't the sharpest kid. So.
Yeah. I doubt that's true too. But,
well,
so this was 99 you guys started,
99,
right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of early days of this classical Christian education movement.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it then because obviously, Logos School had been there a long time, and they actually, and I don't remember if we purchased any of their materials, but they had materials to help classical schools get started, and I think there's probably still some material like that from ACCS that helps schools. But yes, there were numbers, not like now, not as many as now, but certainly not a lot in the Southeast. So yeah, it was kind of a new thing. Mm-hmm. It certainly was to us.
Yeah.
But our the challenges we had were kind of unique because we've got Pensacola Christian right there, and with Abeka Books backing them, they could probably charge no tuition at all and make it easily. Well, so you're competing with that really low cost education, and so it really had to be something distinctive and. It had to look worthwhile to a parent to want to put that kind of effort into it with their child. So.
Yeah. Well, it's so valuable in the discipleship of our kids too, when they're hearing the same things at school that they're hearing at home and that they're hearing at church. And
yeah.
And
you hear that from parents. Well, what they learn in school, we'll undo that. In Sunday school and that 1 hour of Sunday school they have or whatever. You can't undo that.
Yeah.
So. It all does need to tie together, and they do need to have the same structure at home and school and church. And if they don't, they just learn to play the game. Here's how I act when I'm here. Here's how the expectations of me when I'm in this environment, instead of getting the heart, which is what we've always been after. Get your child's heart.
Yeah.
And the rest follows. The behavior follows from that, not the other way around. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's good. So I know at one point you guys were meeting at Pine Summit Methodist Church.
We met at Pine Summit. We met at Summit, the Methodist Church. Yes, the Methodist Church on the corner of...
Not Pine Summit. Yes, Summit United Methodist Church.
That's the one. On the corner of Spanish Trail
and Summit. Yeah. So I don't know if we've talked about this, but Mandy's uncle was the pastor there.
Oh, no, we haven't talked about that.
You guys were meeting.
Yeah. Interesting. What was his name? Or is his name?
Steve Van Landingham.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sure I met him. Ken Trotter would have had a close relationship with him because...
Sure, yeah.
So you knew about Trinitas at that point?
I didn't. Oh, yeah. I didn't really know about Trinitas until we moved back here in 2018. That's when we were introduced to Trinitas.
Oh, okay.
So you guys would have been meeting there. Mandy and I were off at college at that point.
Just youngsters.
Yeah.
And you still are. Yeah.
But I did we attended a few services when we would come back to visit.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with him since then, just reminiscing about Trinitas. And
interesting.
Apparently he was involved in setting up the contract because he was about to transition to somewhere else. And so he made sure the contract was good for you guys to stay there for whatever period of time after you left.
Well, it actually worked out well because, let's see, we were at the first church, I think it was Covenant Presbyterian something. It was an OPC church I can't remember the exact name of it. But we had been at Summit for, I guess, 3 or 4 years, but we had started building the building where we are now in Johnson. Then Hurricane Ivan came along in 2004, and there was substantial damage to the Methodist church there.
Yeah.
And so we cleaned up best we could, but it was kind of a rush to get the school building finished where we are now because of Ivan. Mm-hmm. So, and it kind of slowed construction down because there was a real crunch with building materials, and God worked all that out.
Yeah. Ivan, that was a bad one.
It was a bad one.
Coincidentally, Mandy and I also got married in that church. So
did you?
By her uncle.
That's very good.
Yeah. So just circling back, the impetus for classical Christian education coming out of East Hill. You guys had tried to sort of shift East Hill. Is that right?
Yeah.
The board you thought the board was in agreement to do that? And
I think there was an interest, and it sounded unique, and it sounded, something like we're on the edge of something, but it just never took off. They were talking about just doing a Latin class, and we thought it's so much more than just that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there was a great interest in it. There's, a lot of people very happy with status quo. But, what we say at Trinitas is you're not, when you take your children out of the government schools, you aren't necessarily running from the bad. You are. There's some bad there. You're not running from that, but you're running to the good. So, we try to truth, goodness, and beauty. You hear that all the time at Trinitas. But that really is true. We're trying to get people to recognize that and want that for their children as well.
Yeah.
So don't just run from the bad. Run to the good.
What were some of your favorite memories from that time of starting things up?
Just honestly, the friendship with Ken Trotter and Gary Cumberland. I mean, we were just the three musketeers for a while. It was good. And just relying on God's goodness, because, we didn't feel like between the three of us that, or any one of the three of us, we had enough to do this. But God somehow put us together there, and it was just a real sweet time,
Yeah.
at the beginning of Trinitas. So it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
All by getting to know everybody and just doing things together, and the board retreats we'd go on, and the ACCS conferences. It was just a very sweet time.
Yeah, that's cool. How did you get your initial families?
You mean, yeah. So the Zeps were some of the originals, but they were at East Hill as well. So we had little coffees. We'd host little coffees and have people come in, and we tried to get East Brent Baptist to let us use some space there, but there really wasn't much interest. I think they had so much public school influence in their church as far as teachers and that kind of thing. It was just a good bit of pushback from that. So we hosted several coffees there, though. They let us do that, where we'd have potential parents in, and so there were a lot of people express interest in it. The Schroeders, Lisa and Michael, and their children. So I think the original class is still hanging on the wall in the Trinitas office. You can see the original students there, the Falconberries and the Schroeders and the Zeps. There's several others I'm sure I'm forgetting. But it was a little core group.
I love seeing those pictures in the halls.
Yeah, they're very sweet.
Yeah. And you probably took most of those, I assume.
The ones in the hall, the ones of the play, I did. Yeah. So up to a point, and I couldn't do it one year. I think they waited till, I think it was the weekend. And once my children were through there, I didn't keep my finger on the calendar. I really didn't know what was going on. But they called me like on a Tuesday and said, "Hey, can you do the play pictures this week?" And I said, "I really can't. We're out of town." And so they got somebody else, which was good. It's just time for some younger people to step in. I don't know who did it in between. Did you start right after I stopped, or was there somebody else in between?
I think.
I like that. You have a different perspective. And every year I'd say, I'm sure you want somebody fresh who's not going to just do it from the back of the place like I did. I just try to stay out of the way. I don't, it's just in the back on the ladder.
You're in the back and I'm in the front row.
Which is perfect. What we should have had is both. And just mixed it up. But
we need to get you back in there then.
I don't know about that. But, there's just a lot of talented people like you who can step up and do things. So there's never a point where I thought, well, I've got to do this because it's got to be done right. I mean, there's none of that. Well, I did the best I could. So
you did great, yeah.
And that original, I think it was William Tell's the first one that's up there. We did Romeo and Juliet first, and it was all the students in the school. I mean, it wasn't like hand selected. It was everybody. So we had everybody. We did. Yeah. 26 students. So we had 2 Romeos and 2 Juliets, and they switched places at halftime, whatever, One of the Romeos was, was it Rob? Was it my son Rob? Was he a Romeo? I think he might have been. And then Caleb Trotter, and that Rob's twice the size of Caleb Trotter. He was a little fella then. But it was an interesting transition, but
your mind had to work hard to make the new connection.
That's the same character, right? But nobody was getting pictures of that one, so it isn't up there on the. And the first one I shot was with film. I think it was William Tell. I didn't know how they turned out until they were processed. I mean, there was no digital.
Yeah.
But that first design with the shape of, where all the cast is and everything, I did that. And I told James, I said, please just do what you want to do. No, we're going to keep the same format. So for a while I had the same frame company who I said, I just need another mat. And they had the format stored and everything. I just cut it for me and I'd show up. But then that place went out of business. So I'm not carrying these things in. Please, can you match this? But yeah, there's one year I didn't tape because Ken Trotter and Gary and Bob and I were the Soaked Britches gang, I think, instead of the Soggy Bottom Boys. Soaked Britches gang. So we sang at the, I guess it was Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, whatever that one was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So somebody else took the pictures for that.
You got on stage for that one.
Yeah, we were on stage for that one. Nice. So, it was fun.
Well, I think those pictures are valuable.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have a perspective of documenting that sort of thing.
Well, thank you. I do too. I know you like video more than still photography, though, right?
But I like both. Yeah. I like being able to do this, but I also enjoy the stills.
Yeah. So. I enjoy the stills, but I don't think I could ever. I love photography, but I couldn't do it for a living because the expectations are up here, and I'm probably here. It's something like a wedding where it's a one-shot deal.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
It is. It's like, could we just do that ceremony again? My exposure was wrong. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, I did that. I've only done one wedding video.
Oh yeah, the one I was at
for Jillian. Yeah. You helped me.
Yeah, I
run
moved
some
something.
of the cameras.
Thankfully, I didn't drop anything. And it's always a worry when you're moving something. It's like, please don't let me trip.
I was glad you were there at the last minute. I grabbed you and, hey, can you run this camera for me for a minute?
I can move it. I can push a button, but don't ask me to do anything else.
It worked out well. But I remember the pressure of, you can't screw this up. There's no redos.
I can't do that.
So, I don't think I'd be a wedding videographer or photographer. Would just be...
Well, how'd you get roped into that one? I mean, roped. I'm sure you enjoyed doing it.
No, I enjoyed doing it. It's a great experience. Right. We were just friends. I had done a little bit of work for Emma's volleyball video, and they just asked. But it's. I find value in capturing these memories, basically.
Yeah, I do too. It's in a way, you're creating something very unique, and I enjoy it a lot. I was reading Ansel Adams one time, and he was talking about when the 35 millimeter came out. He was scared to death. People are just going to be snapping pictures, hoping to get a good one, and he's right. Because he'd spend, half a day with his field camera, just, planning the shot. And if he could see digital now, I mean, I got like 60,000 photos on my phone. I mean, I don't even know what to do with those. So photography's definitely changed as well.
It has. Yeah. But I know our family has found it valuable to just sit down and scroll through all those photos of the kids. And it just, it sparks these memories that kind of fade. But when you have that, even if it's just the still,
right,
like it brings back all the memories and the context that surrounded that.
Oh, you're exactly right. Rob, our oldest son, he just reposted we have a family chat. It's called Fam. I think he named it, but we're all on it. But he just reposted a video of me cutting down a Christmas tree in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Well, it wasn't a Christmas tree farm. We just drive down a dirt road and find a tree. And I was always afraid somebody's going to come out with a shotgun because I'm just cutting down. So this one, I have one of those bow saws, and I just cut it down real quick, shove it in the back seat. And it's funny because I'm looking around the whole time thinking I'm about to get shot. But it's good memories because you can just almost smell the pine tree. And it was a little Charlie Brown tree. It was awful. But it's what we had in North Carolina, our little house there, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but good memories.
It's good memories, but you're exactly right. Those pop up occasionally, and it just brings it all back. So
yeah.
It's very good.
Before pictures, what did they do?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess you would have the oral transmission of all of that, but...
Yeah, but the whole picture's worth 1,000 words thing. There's some truth to that.
Yeah. And it just, it helps remind us of our family culture and
it does.
All of those things. So.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I like Ancestry for that point. From that point of view, is just a sense of where you came from, and there are old family photos associated with that as well. Mm-hmm. But I think in Ecclesiastes he talks about you will soon be forgotten. Who remembers their great grandfather?
Yeah,
I don't. I don't think I have a picture of him. Probably couldn't tell you a thing about him. But it is amazing how our families, when you have children, you think, well, all their children, they'll all know each other. Probably not. No.
Yeah.
It's going to get to the point where it's just we've branched off. And
Yeah.
But the photos do, at least in our generation, several generations kind of tie things together.
You're right. Yeah.
So I enjoy that aspect of it as well.
Yeah. And you may have known your great-grandfather.
Right.
No chance you knew your great-great.
No.
Yeah. But that's sort of the purpose of this podcast too. So now maybe generations can know.
Yeah. Sorry about this, kids.
Dr. Nolan. Yeah. So how did you get into photography to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question. My dad was he was into photography, and I'd mess around with his camera a little bit. It's an old Pentax. I remember that camera was totally manual. But he talked about aperture and depth of field and all that. It made no sense to me. But, gradually you figure these things out. My first camera I owned was a Nikon FA. You use Canon, don't you?
Sony.
Sony, okay. All right. What's funny, once you get into a system like that, you just, the new lens will come out, so you got to buy it because you have that camera body, and then the new body will come out, and you got to buy that because you have the lens.
They get you locked in.
It's the whole lock and key thing. But my first camera was a Nikon FA, which was in probably 1984. It was a pretty decent camera, but there was no autofocus. But it had aperture priority and shutter priority, which was a big deal then.
Mm-hmm.
Just be able to set your shutter and have it choose the aperture or the other way around, depending on what you're shooting. What kind of depth of field you need, and it had a program mode where you could just, I thought that was so automatic, and it was pretty primitive at that point, and you still had to focus.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think in some respects we've gotten a little lazy with photography. I know I have but I don't consider that. I mean, they're still capturing things, even though I'm not doing it all manually, and there's some purists out there who don't think what we're doing is legit, but.
Yeah, but how many shots have they missed because
exactly right,
they're not using this technology?
Yeah.
So you rather have the shot, or you rather
have the shot,
brag about how
you have 200 pictures and have a good one.
Yeah.
People are like, that's a great shot. Oh, you should have seen the other 199. Yeah. They weren't so good.
The great thing about digital.
It is.
Spray and pray, they say, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a picture in my office. You may have seen it, but it's all four of, it's Kathy and the three kids, their profiles just lined up, and it took me probably 30 to get that.
Yeah.
To get everybody's the spacing right and get everybody's eyes open. It was the first weekend the beach was open after Ivan, and so we were out there, and I tell Hannah she was a little too far. I moved back. Oh no, just a little. So finally, one that's like, all right, that's acceptable. But you can go back and look and make sure you don't have to retake. But I do have people that are like, oh, I didn't know you had 4 children. I'm like, that one's my wife. So she's always looked younger.
What a compliment, yeah. So how have you kept your passion for photography going all these years?
I don't know. I just keep doing it. So, but you find new things. And honestly, the phones have gotten so good that it's almost tempting not to carry around a good camera. But as you know, we hike a lot. We visit the national parks, and you can tell a difference. I mean, when you really want to control your depth of field or the lighting, you just need a good camera.
Yeah.
So that's, and you don't want the equipment there's a real temptation in music too, to just think, okay, the sound effects, that'll take the place of my talent. Mm-hmm. And so you think the same thing with a camera. It's like, I got a good camera. It doesn't matter what I do. Yeah, it matters. Because I've seen some really good photos with phones, and I've seen some really bad ones with a really nice digital camera, and I've taken some of both.
Yeah.
And Kathy's actually a very good photographer. Sometimes I'll see, her framing, her composition is just very good. Mm-hmm. Her eye for it. In fact, when we're walking on the trail and someone says, "Can you get a photo of us?" I'm like, "You want her to do this? Trust me." So they give her the phone.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, but. It's mostly through once you and this feeling when you capture something really good, you're like, oh, that's I'm gonna do this more.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're always honing our crafts, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We're hopefully getting better at what we're doing, and so that's what I just strive for.
Yeah.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, you're right about the phones and the phones are getting very good.
Yeah.
But they still haven't replaced the physics of actual glass.
I don't think they have,
yet.
right.
So
yeah, it's not there.
I am thankful for it because I get a lot of shots that I wouldn't have my camera around for.
You're not exactly right, because I don't carry mine everywhere.
Right.
So
that would be too burdensome.
It would be. And photos of the grandkids, those are very impromptu, and I'm not going to have my mother would always do that to my dad. Bob, go get the camera, and he'd miss almost everything just trying to find where he's left his camera. So that was way before phones.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now your photography, though, in recent years, I guess, a couple of years now, has morphed into astrophotography.
You know, it's funny because I've always been interested in the astronomy way back. But you buy the little telescope when you're a kid, and no matter what you look at, unless it's the moon, it's just kind of a smudge. Your telescope isn't good enough to get really good resolution, and it's not big enough to really see a lot in that one view. So anyway, that was kind of discouraging. And then when the Hubble telescope, they put that up there, you're like, well, why? It was almost that why bother thing. But then just lately, in the last 10, 15 years, the computers have come into it, more electronics, which sounds like you're cheating, but you're really not. Once I started, we actually went over to Big Bend National Park, which is supposed to be one of the darkest skies in the United States. And so I took my stuff over there, but I really wasn't well equipped to do it, and didn't have all the things I needed. And I thought I would do the Milky Way shots like that. And the Milky Way, you've got to time it right because it's not always just exactly over that canyon where you want it to be. So that didn't really come to fruition. I didn't do much at Big Bend. We got some really nice shots of the stars there because it's just absolutely amazing what you can see. Yeah, so like my front yard, I go out there and I look up and I can maybe see, 20 or 30 stars. So you think, well, I won't be able to get anything here. But once I started seeing some of the shots other people were getting, and I joined the Escambia Amateur Astronomy Society, whatever it is. Anyway, it's a little thing on Facebook. So I joined that, and I started seeing the photos some of the other guys were getting, and I thought, all right, this is doable. And so most of what I've taken is from my front or backyard.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it is, and it's not because of anything I do. They make filters that filter out high-pressure sodium and mercury vapor, some of the more common street lights, LED now.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, yeah, some of the filters are pretty good.
So you're not getting all that light pollution in there.
Not getting as much of it. So, but it's all based on the time, because on a telescope you can't change the focal length or the aperture. Those are fixed. And so really the only thing you can change is the amount of time you're getting on it, the exposure. So everything you find out about it's like, oh, so I've got to have another little piece of equipment. So you've got to follow the stars. And in astrophotography, the rule is 500 over your focal length. So if I'm using a 500 millimeter lens, 500 over that is 1. I can go 1 second without stars leaving a trail. So you have to have some way to make the camera move at the same rate, or the telescope move at the same rate of the stars. And so then you got to buy a guide, a mount that has guiding capabilities. Will follow the star. So that's what you do. All my exposures are either 3 or 5 minutes, and then you just stack those. So you have software that stacks them.
Okay, yeah.
So it'll put together, if usually 60 to 100 shots, and it'll stack those, and so you get more and more detail.
Besides the tracker, what is some of the other equipment you've needed for this?
The filters, something you don't think about. They're kind of... Kathy's just now probably going to find out what some of this stuff costs. Some of the filters, it's a little 2-inch filter. It's like $300.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, all right, I got to have that one. Then you'll see someone else's work they've done. It's like, well, I used a Optra L-Extreme filter on it, and it's a different one for emission nebulas. They're different than reflection nebulas, so a different filter.
Yeah.
And then other things you don't think about, like dew is probably going to collect on my lens like it would anything sitting outside. So then you have to buy a dew heater. You have to have this wrapped heater thing around your telescope and the guiding telescope. And just all these little things. It's like, all right. Yeah, and so some of it's just kind of surprising. But when it all comes together, it's, and it's working.
It's beautiful. Some cool shots you posted.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. You're kind. But I told Kathy, I said, if you saw some of the other shots I'm seeing, some of these groups, it's amazing what people are doing. But it's like any photography. You try not to look down the pew either way and go, well, I'm better than that. I'm not as good as that. You just do the best you can and find that point where you're enjoying it. It can always improve. That's what you're always hoping. I'll improve on that.
I guess it's like we were talking about before we started filming, that you can spend as much as you want on this sort of thing. So
you can.
I assume that's the case for...
It is. And, but it's almost like, and I play the guitar too, but if you buy a really cheap guitar to start with, it's really discouraging because It's that first time you can't play that F chord. You're like, okay, put this thing down, because it's what tends to weed people out.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with a cheap guitar. Same thing with the cheap telescope, and you're going to get what you pay for. So you don't want something that's so discouraging. It doesn't mean you need to hop in there and buy the most expensive thing, but there are some of these telescopes that are, the amateur scopes that are $20,000 or $30,000. Well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, not yet.
No. You hear that, Kathy? Matt's pushing me along. So, yeah, not yet.
So how does that setup work? I don't really know much about this space at all.
Yeah, there's a grammar and a logic and a rhetoric to it, just like there is with every subject. So there's a lot of grammar things like getting it polar aligned and, getting it plate solved, all these words that I just never didn't know existed. But you pretty much have to have a pretty decent tripod that's going to be stable, and you have to decide what telescope you want. So the first one I got was 250 millimeters, which doesn't sound much in photographic terms. You think, well, what can you get with that? But you get a lot. Your temptation is to think the longer the focal length, if I get 2,000 millimeters, that's going to be a lot better than 250. Well, 250, I can get some nebulas you can't, like Andromeda Galaxy, for instance, barely fits on my 500. So most people shoot it at 250 or so. There's some nebulas that won't fit in 250 millimeters, so you have to do a mosaic and patch it all together when you're done. So it's not that bigger is better. It's just a matter of what you want to shoot. Some of the more interesting things are the nebulas, and they're larger. They're in our solar system. So you're not shooting a galaxy that's millions of light years away or whatever. Anyway, the first thing is just getting the equipment, obviously. But once you get it set up, you've got to have the telescope polar aligned, which means it needs to be pointing at Polaris. Well, I can't see Polaris from my front yard because of the trees. So they have this, thanks to computers, you point it almost straight up, and then it'll go to 3 different positions and take pictures, and it knows, it's all stored in that computer. It knows where it's pointed.
Oh, wow.
And it'll tell you need to go 5 degrees, 5 degrees to the right and 3 degrees up or whatever. And so you just twist these knobs or move the whole tripod if it's too far off, until finally it tells you, yes, so you got to get within 5 minutes of accuracy. Anyway, you got to be within five arc minutes, whatever, of being pointed toward Polaris before the guiding is going to work well. Before the computer knows where this thing's pointed. So I was telling John Strickler. He asked me. He said, how does this work? And I said, well, I get it polar aligned. I set up the guiding, set up how long and how many exposures I want, how long exposure, and then I basically go inside. He said, so you really don't do much, do you? Well, it doesn't sound like much when I say it like that, but it's, there's a bit of getting it set up. And truly, once you get it going, I don't sleep real well on the nights when it's doing that, but I will set it up to go all night. So when it gets to the meridian straight above you, the whole telescope has to flip around. The computer handles that, but there are a lot of wires hanging off, and hopefully you've managed the cables well enough where they don't get snagged on anything and come unplugged, because that's happened. It happened to everybody who's ever done this. But once it flips around, does that meridian flip, and then it'll start guiding the other way. Everything's upside down at that point. It's backwards from where it was, but the software takes care of that. I usually will end up waking up about 2 a.m. and looking at my phone because it's all on there, and just, all right, is everything still working? Am I still getting good pictures? And it's the choice of how long to shoot for, because you can shoot for 60 seconds or you can shoot for 5 minutes. You can shoot for 10 minutes if you want to. But if a plane goes over, which happens a lot, or the satellites, a lot of Starlink. Think about it. There's just streaks going across the sky with Starlink, and I've had a few airplanes go through the picture. But, if you're taking a 5-minute exposure, that whole exposure is ruined. But it makes for a good picture. You got this streak. It's like, you see the flashing green light as it goes across. But no matter how long the exposure is, if it's 1 second or 5 minutes, it's always, on my bigger camera, it's 52.8 megabytes. So it's always that fixed size. Doesn't matter how long. So if I'm taking 1,000 of those, that's a lot. We were talking before about disk space and how much it takes. And that's a lot more processing power for the computer. You've got to have a bigger hard drive. And so I store most of it on a little 4 terabyte SSD drive. It works off of that. So
when you're shooting all night, you're taking those however long the exposure shot is, and then you're stacking all of those shots together.
Right.
So at the end of the night, you've got one shot?
Well, actually, it stores it all in this. It's ASI Air is the computer that I use. It's actually attached to the telescope, so I have to download it to my computer. And there's a separate software and this was a whole learning curve too. It's almost like Photoshop. The first time you use Photoshop, it's pretty steep.
Yeah,
pretty steep learning curve.
It is, yeah.
And it's the same with this one I use. There's a couple of free ones, Cyril and a few others, but there's PixInsight, which most photographers use, astrophotography. It's not free, and it's not super expensive. I think it's like $325, but the learning curve is pretty steep. There's no manuals for any of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the YouTube University, like you were talking about. You just go on YouTube and you find people who've done it, and they'll walk you through. It's one of those softwares you feel like I'm never going to master this because there's so many aspects to it, so many different ways. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, that's if anybody made it through that whole thing, cup of coffee. Like I said, I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
They don't even have to make it to the end.
You don't have to make it to the end. Just make it through that part. Because I enjoy talking about it, but it's not something anybody else is probably interested in. But,
well, I'm fascinated by it.
Well, it's fun. Yeah. Thank you for that. But,
so the telescope, does that connect directly to the camera, or is that attached to your lens somehow?
Yeah, the telescope. There are some that are just for astrophotography. I mean, there's no way to put an eyepiece on it and use it for visual. Mm-hmm. So that's what mine is. It's made for astrophotography. So the camera looks nothing like a camera. It's just this red thing on the end of the telescope.
Oh, okay. So you're not connecting your Nikon to this thing?
No, but you can.
Okay.
They make adapters for it, but all of our cameras have some kind of UV filter in there. And so to do it right, you're supposed to have your camera modified for astrophotography. But I think probably some of it you can overcome with the software. You can deal with it later in the software. But there are a lot of guys who use their own camera. But most of us use a dedicated. And part of it is, this is another thing I didn't know, calibration frames you have to take. So there's flats, darks, and bias frames, which aren't anything I've ever used to in regular photography. Yeah. But the flat frames are for working through anything in the image train that might dust on the sensor or dust on the, because it'll leave this dark spot on your photo. So if you take the flat things, it'll subtract it from the light frames.
Oh, okay.
So that's another thing I didn't think of. But with your camera, your sensor actually heats up on those long exposures, and it changes something. So the cameras, most of them for astrophotography are cooled. So it cools the camera down to -4 degrees. So it's got a little chill thing in there. So nice. You can hear the fan running and all that. So it's made specifically for astrophotography.
But you need it moving too. You still need this.
You need the guide, or else you take really short exposures. If you're shooting at again, it's 500 over your over the focal length. So if you're shooting with the 200 millimeter lens, so you got 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
So you can take 2.5 second shots.
Yeah.
And stack those, but
you're pretty limited if you don't have the right equipment. So there's a barrier to entry.
Yeah, but they do make. I will say they make a little. There's several. There's one called a Dwarf and there's one called Sea Star. They're little all-in-one units, and I don't think they're guided, but they're made to take a bunch of short exposures.
Oh, okay.
And so it's about $500. You can get into it.
Okay.
It's and some of their photos are pretty good. If you're trying to do some really like galaxies and that kind of thing. A lot of guys are using the reflector scopes, the real big ones you see. Mine's a refractor, both mine, so they're sealed and got 5 lenses in them. They're heavier, but generally the focal length is limited. I mean, I think probably 700 or 800, maybe 1,000 from it. But the refractors are just, again, they've got all the lens in them, so they're heavier and shorter, or heavier, I should say. Having said all that, that's the basic 2 kinds. I don't have a refractor. I don't have a reflector one of the big ones with the mirrors and all of that. But so you could start with a regular camera, I guess, is the bottom line. I used to have a friend who said, if you can buy the best of anything for under $1,000, you should do it. And we're way past that. Now, it should probably, with inflation, probably be $5,000. But I don't know. Yeah, you want a quality scope. At least I did.
Yeah.
So the little small one I have isn't, the 250 focal length. It's not a real powerful one, but it's pretty good quality.
Yeah, I find when I buy the cheap thing first, I have to end up buying the expensive one anyway. And then I'm stuck with the cheap one.
Yeah.
basically a waste of money.
It's just a reminder not to do that again.
Yeah.
So sit over on the shelf and go, don't.
Had too many of those reminders.
Right.
Yeah.
We've all got those.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I've done things before where I've thrown myself into a hobby a little too quick and bought the good stuff, and then it sits over there because...
Yeah, that's true.
It's like the guy, I was so inspired by that jazz album, I went out and bought a saxophone, and then I set it down when I remembered I couldn't play it. Didn't know how to play it, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I've dived into hobbies a little too quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been a little sorry for it, but...
There's a ditch on both sides of that street.
There is.
Yeah.
There absolutely is.
That's good.
But I don't know, with photography, I mean, you already know you like photography, you like composition, and you kind of know what to do with the software, and you basically know the elements of what you're doing, the contrast and the saturation and all those things, and all that just carries over to this. So
yeah,
wasn't really new in that aspect. At first, I wasn't going to put any of it on Facebook or anything, and Kathy said, because I told her, I said, there's so many people doing this really, really well, and my stuff is just mediocre. It's just middle of the road.
Yeah.
She goes, but none of our friends are doing it. So
that's right.
It's funny, the first thing I put on there is get 80 or 100 comments, and then every time I put something on, it's less and less. People are like, eh.
We've seen it.
Seen all that. Yeah. It all looks the same after a while.
It's Dr. Nolan's backyard.
Right. That's his backyard. I know. He shot that from his backyard, whatever. Yeah.
That's
and
funny.
even I'm starting to, galaxies start looking the same. I'm starting looking for the unusual ones. And there was a guy who actually cataloged, ARP was his last name, ARP. So he's cataloged them as like ARP 270 is a group of interacting galaxies. And they're, because of gravitational pull, they're shaped oddly and they're very interesting. And most of them are too far away to get with my 500 millimeter. So you need a lot of time and a much larger scope to catch a lot of those. But they're very interesting. I say something about another telescope. Kathy's like, no. Probably because I've got two of them sitting in the living room. And
okay.
And it can't get too heavy because there's going to come an age limit where I'm like, I can't lug that thing out in the yard anymore. So I don't take it all apart and take it out there. I take the whole tripod and everything. And
well, that's what kids and grandkids are for, right?
That's it. Could you carry this out there for me?
Yeah.
Or it's getting a lot of land. And I mean, some of these guys build their own observatories. They have this 15 by 15 shed and the roof rolls back and their telescope's right there. I know.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, and they never even go outside. It's like, because it's permanently mounted, they don't have to polar align every night.
That's impressive.
But I don't know that you ever really run out of things to photograph because there's always that thought. It's like, because I'll look, the computer tells you, here's what's best tonight, here's what's in that sky.
Oh, okay.
Because some of them are on the other side of the earth, you can't see anyway. So they come around, like some of them will be summertime. There's summertime targets. They're not visible in the winter, and vice versa. And there's some things that you can only get from the southern hemisphere. You have to be in Australia or something to get a picture of a few of them.
Good excuse to take a trip.
Yeah, I guess, but I guess you take all your stuff. It's that'd be really expensive.
Yeah, that'd be.
Hadn't thought a lot about that, but it's almost like diving in another. You just hope you can rent the stuff.
So what sparked your interest in astronomy to begin with?
Yeah, just astronomy itself. It's just the vastness of the universe. It's just, like I say, since high school. And you used to have to go to the store and buy the astronomy magazine or whatever. I remember one time I was buying the astronomy magazine. I put it on the counter. She goes, "Ooh, astrology. I love it. What sign are you?" I'm like, well, we might be talking about two different things here. Yeah, so I got a subscription to that when I was in high school or whatever. I followed that pretty closely. It's way before the internet, and you could look things up easily. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same thing when you start getting into microbiology and looking through a microscope and looking at the smallness of things and the intricacy of the universe. It's just as amazing to look at the vastness of it and the design.
Yeah.
To look at either one of those things, look at something microscopically or telescopically, and just to think there's not a God. It's like, really? All this just came to be from one little.
Yeah.
No, don't think so.
Yeah. I took an astronomy class in college and loved it. My dad was actually a welder on the external tank for the shuttle.
Oh.
So from a young age, I just had an interest in space exploration and
that's
astronomy and stuff like that. So, but I remember talking about black holes and there's, I don't believe in black holes, by the way. So
don't you?
Maybe we can spark some controversy there, but
yeah, well, you'll get some comments, I guess, about that.
Yeah. I remember speaking of the Hubble, there was these places that from the earthbound telescopes we thought, okay, there's this blankness, so there's a black hole there, but then they pointed the Hubble at it, and there was all kinds of stuff there.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's kind of my
It's kind of your take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about men walking on the moon? Did that happen, Matt?
Yeah.
What
tell
about
me.
chemtrails and contrails?
Yeah.
Get in all the conspiracy theories.
Yeah. I think we landed on the moon, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure about black holes.
Not either. No. I don't know. And I get questions about, the length of time it took light to get here. And we're talking about creation. It's like, okay, there's all kinds of theories about the speed of light and was it the same then? And I don't know. I just have to trust when scientists say it's 10 million light years away. I'm like, all right. I mean, that's how we're measuring it now. So fine. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we'll get some comments about that too. I'd rather not talk about all that. But we were talking about Trinitas before and not knowing people. But Kathy, they always used to come get her like on photo day or whatever because she knew everybody. They'd all come to the library. And so she knew all the children and their parents and who went with who. And, you need to get so-and-so from 4th grade because,
Yeah.
But she knew everybody in the school. Teresa knows everybody in the school too, of course.
Yeah.
But aside from those two, at that point back then, Ken Trotter didn't even know everybody. I mean, he knew them, but, he'd forget who the parent we went with who.
Get to a certain size.
And it's hard to do. It gets difficult.
Yeah.
But it almost got to be where somebody had to be there for 2 years before I'd remember them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like, you're not worth it yet. But it's just like,
no, it's not that edit. It's just, how do you know everybody? Just takes a while sometimes.
It takes a while.
Well, and I've mentioned this multiple times that the men's camp out, and I don't know when they started that, if you guys were a part of that back in the day.
We were, yeah. I don't know when it started. It started with Ken Trotter back somewhere there. But
it's so valuable for especially dads to connect.
It is. We weren't, you weren't at the school when we were doing that. I think our kids were already graduated.
Yeah.
So, it is valuable. I've heard a number of people you've said, we first met at that camp out or whatever.
I feel like I mention it almost every podcast. But
yeah. I think the one I remember the most is out at Harold Downey's property at Chumuckla Springs. So Harold's son used to go to Trinitas, but Harold actually owns a large part of Chumuckla. I mean, just, the 5 Points area, all that. He used to own a bunch of that. But he actually owns the original Chumuckla Springs, which is where they used to bottle water and send it all over the world back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's supposed to say Chumuckla in Indian means healing waters or something like that. So they used to bottle that stuff. But anyway, that's where father-son camp out was there one year, and it was a good one. It's got a lot of big plot of land there where the kids were playing football and whatever they were doing while the dads talked.
That's cool. That was before me, but yeah, it's just a good time you're forced to turn off the cell phones because there's no reception. You meet dads from, lower school to upper school, and it's a good time to hang out and get to know people.
It's fun to see some things that started back then still existing and still being a part of the Trinitas life. And some of that just makes sense anyway. I mean, somebody else would have thought of it if we hadn't done it. But.
Well, all those foundations you guys laid, though, are still proven to bearing good fruit today. So.
I think so, but I'm on the board. I'm a board member emeritus, which means thank you for your service. Please don't come back. That's the way I read it. But, you're welcome to come to the meetings, but you can't vote. But
I never saw you when I did my ex officio year. So.
Oh yeah. Well, James was like, you should be more involved. I'm like, well. A lot of our board meetings will run till like 12 or 1 in the morning. He said, well, I think we fixed most of that. Yeah. So, and a lot of it, we said if we'd had all the money in the world, they'd be like an hour long. Yeah. And the other thing, so once you sit a bunch of people down and they've got a drink and all that, is just, you should have all meetings standing up.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot shorter.
Right.
But, I didn't make it too many of those. I came to a couple of them, but some good stuff. Well, I was going to say at one of the ACCS, I think it was a accreditation meeting or something, but they were talking about the different bylaws and that kind of thing. He goes, I don't know why that was in there. And they just started trashing some of the bylaws we'd had. And said, well, do you even like the font we picked out? Because, do you like the colors we picked out for the school? Anything? And one of the board members later, he was like, yeah, I thought we were a little harsh on the original, talking about all that. I was like, oh, it's all right. Things change, but it's one of those before you tear down a fence, ask why it was put there. So you back up and look at it before you just say that rule doesn't apply to us anymore. But there's a reason it's there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns in the beginning with the accreditation process and stuff.
Accreditation took a while. I think they were, and everybody likes to think things were harder when we did it. It was, but they have slacked a little bit. It's gotten a little bit easier to get your school accredited, but the process was really, it was pretty arduous. And so it took a while for us to get through that. But this was a recent one with new board members, and it's just wasn't a lot of history there, and so. But in the beginning, I mean, we had nothing. We had somebody draw the logo for us that you see that shield now and all of that, and I literally picked out the font. That's Old English font, for Trinitas Christian School. Literally did that. We didn't have any equipment or anything. We circled back, didn't we, to Trinitas?
Yeah.
But so I had a Xerox machine left from the office, and somebody else had a computer. I mean, it was just bunch of stuff we had and pulled together. But I always said, if you can teach our kids under a tree if you've got good curriculum and good teachers.
Yeah.
So it's not all about the facility, but it's not true. You need a good facility because you want to do it out in the rain. But
it helps.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
So back in those early days, were you guys interacting with like Doug Wilson and that crew much?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. In fact, the first conference we went to, I think one of the ones that made me realize how poor my education was a lecture by George Grant. And so, George Grant was at the first one. He did one called Dumb and Dumber. Now he's done a few lectures called Dumb and Dumber, which aren't the same. But the original one he did, have you heard it? Where he's talking about the original 13 presidents of the United States? And
no.
I didn't know about this because when he started talking, he said, I realized how poor my education was when I didn't know who the first president of the United States was. And I looked at Kathy and goes, he said, he's not very smart or something. And he said, I always thought it was George Washington. I thought, it might be me. But it was Peyton Randolph because, George Washington wasn't until 1789. And, what happened between those years? I didn't know. Peyton Randolph, first president. So anyway, John Hancock was the third when the Declaration was signed. I think that's probably why his signature is the biggest. And, he was probably the first one to sign it. I don't know. But there were like 13 guys in there, and it just made me realize how poor my education was because you think, well, I know George Washington. You really thought about those years in between. But between George Grant and Douglas Wilson and some of the early ones like that, it was very good to see them at the conference. Conferences were a little smaller, so you did get to know people now.
But what was the interaction as you guys were ramping up?
Yeah.
Were there resources that they like? Was there communication with them?
I'm sure Ken had some.
Okay,
we didn't so much. I mean, Doug Wilson had some really good stuff on boards and how boards should be run and what constitutes board action, and so a lot of that was very helpful.
Okay,
because like I say, we kind of came from a dysfunctional board. So a lot of materials were already there, so we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. You hate to learn everything from scratch, and when somebody else has already done the legwork. You like to build on that.
Yeah.
So, and you look at the work Doug Wilson did with Logos when they started that. I mean, he said a lot of their policies, their first meeting was like, do we require the kids to wear shoes or not? I mean, it was things like that. So when you start talking about, the length of a dress and that kind of thing, it wasn't even on the table then. Yeah, some of the things you got to just decide. Some things are just preferences, and you got to decide what's preferences and what is biblical. What do we need to be doing? Mm-hmm. What does the Bible call us to do versus what would we like this to look like?
Yeah,
and a lot of that's Ken Trotter. It's got his fingerprints all over, the uniforms. And
were those big discussions in the board meetings, or was that?
Not a lot because like Ken would have very specific ideas about how something should go. And Gary and I we'd consider it because we're not totally inept, but a lot of rubber stamp. It's just, if you say this is the way it needs to go that way.
So, he had done the legwork for it already.
There's a lot of trust, with who's done the legwork in it. So there wasn't any arguing about anything. So we were all in agreement about how the education should look.
So most of those meetings were pretty cordial, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, in fact, I remember I used to take the notes for some of our early meetings, and one of them, I just put stuff in there like there was a significant amount of Mac bashing at this point. So Gary was an IBM, he was a Windows guy, and I was a Mac guy, and so we kind of banter about that, but just playfully.
Yeah.
So, But
I mean, it's kind of required
yeah,
banter when you're
yeah, you got to have that
you're in
conversation.
those different tribes. Yeah.
So if you go to the library now, it's a Mac in there. We did that.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, some of it needed to be user friendly somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
So we'll get letters about that too. But
That's funny.
I don't know. I was telling you earlier. I mean, my first Mac was like 1988 or 89, something like that. I think it was an S2. That's what it was called. It was probably $2,500 for this little box. And
yeah.
not much to it. But in fact, one of the first ones we started at with Trinitas was a Mac because I donated it. But it's whatever software we're using, I think, changed. And so they pretty much had to go.
Oh, okay.
With the Windows.
That Mac might be worth something these days.
Might be. I still have it. I still have my first laptop, which was a 165C, I think. It had an 80 megabyte hard drive, and I upgraded it to 320, which was just, how can you ever use 320 megabytes?
Yeah.
But yeah, it ran System 7 of Mac.
Okay.
Mac OS.
I bet that was that an expensive purchase at the time?
Yeah, it was another $2,500 because a color laptop at that point was, they made black and white ones, but a color one was definitely more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're bleeding edge.
Yeah. I try not to ever be, and it's the same way in dentistry, I try not to be the first to buy something or the last. You want somebody else to work out the kinks in it. And just buy the second best. And I do that with the camera too. I mean, I look at, I have a Z8, I think. Z8? Yeah. But I think they make a Z9 at the same time, but it's another $2,000. It's like, do I really need whatever features those are? And so Macs are it's the same way. I never bought the very best one. I figure that's going to be obsolete in 2 years anyway.
Right.
Which they were. I mean, everything was changing so quickly in the late 80s or early 90s.
Yeah. Still the case.
Still the case.
Yeah.
So just planned obsolescence.
As soon as you buy it, you're behind.
Yeah. So. Well, I think George Grant's a huge Mac user, and I think he's got I think I've seen pictures of his, like you got your little shelf over there with stuff, and he's got all his Macs there. And
that's fun. I've still got my first one.
Do you?
It's in a box now, but it was a 17-inch laptop that I got in 2009, I think.
Yeah.
So that was my first Mac.
I still have some of the laptops laying around.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them start up anymore. That's why I got the new one.
Yeah.
But I'd usually, when I bought my new Mac, I'd give Ken Trotter the old one, which was still a pretty good Mac because I was buying them through the office and it was all deductible. And he's like, it's Christmas. Every time you get a new Mac, I get a new one too. But
yeah. So he's always encouraging you to get a new one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you get a new one, don't you? Well, one of me, it's funny because he said, hey, how can I get stuff back that I've lost on? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was working on this document. I've worked on about 4 hours and then my computer just shut off. And I said, well, you're saving it along the way. No. I was like, it's gone. It is gone. I mean, that's back before you had autosave and anything like that. And one of them is working on in the bathtub, and he goes, well, the keyboard, dropped it in there. It was only in there for half a second. I was like, half a second too long, Ken.
Oh, man.
It's done. I guess I'm getting a new computer because you need it.
That is funny.
Expensive friend.
Yeah.
That's how I got my Mac friends. It's just give them a Mac that turns them into Mac users. It's just like, here, figure this out.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Expensive, but
expensive, a good way to get people on your side.
Yeah, for sure. So I started programming and stuff before autosaves, and so I got in the habit early on of saving.
Right.
So I even with that, I still Command S all the time.
Right.
Yeah, just out of habit. So probably unnecessary at this point, but
I don't know. Like this software I was telling you about, this PixInsight, a lot of it, and it's Mac, but it's a lot of the conventional things like Command W. You want to close that window, it doesn't work. It enlarges, it fits it to the window or something. It's got a different command.
Its own shortcuts, huh?
Yeah, because Mac's pretty universal across the board. If you do, Command X is going to cut, Command C is going to copy, and Command V is going to paste. There's all the things No, I'm just having to use buttons and going up to the menu. It's a little
slowing you down.
Yeah, slowing you down. But it's a lot of scripted stuff, a lot of scripts. So people will write scripts, and PixInsight allows them to, they have repositories where you can add the script to, your software, and a lot of them are just extremely useful. But anyway, a lot of the Mac conventions don't work, which you miss. You start realizing how good Macs, and they were the first to do that. I think Windows was always function buttons.
Yeah.
F3 does this on this program. F3 does something different on a different program. I think they've gotten a little more uniform too.
Well, apparently Bill Gates just stole the idea of Windows from Steve Jobs.
Yeah, there was a whole lawsuit over that for imitating the look and feel of a Mac or something like that. And I don't think it flew, or it'd be a different world now. It didn't make it.
It's good for us that there's a healthy competition.
I was watching a documentary one time on the beginnings of a lot of the computer kind of things, but one guy was in a sailboat they were interviewing, and he goes, "Yeah, Ethernet was my idea. I did that." And it's like, you don't realize, you see all these things that are just out there now, and you just think, well, it just came to be. There's a guy behind it.
Yeah, so somebody had to come up with it.
Pretty interesting. I love documentaries like that tell how things started. And
yeah, me too. Fascinating.
Makes me feel pretty insufficient. But like, I thought I would have thought of something unique by now, but I haven't.
Well, you started a pretty good school. So.
Oh, well, yeah. That's a bunch of us and God, so obviously.
All glory to him for sure.
Right,
but
exactly.
He does work through people. So
he does.
Appreciate your obedience in that and all the sacrifice.
Thanks. Yeah, well, like I say, it's Ken Trotter's brains, and we had some money, but, it's Ken did it. So
you mentioned Mrs. Howell, too. I know she was there was she the very beginning also?
She wasn't the very first. She was maybe the second year or something like that. Okay. She came up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Been there a long time.
She definitely.
We love her. She still brightens our morning.
She does
every time we walk in.
Yeah.
So.
At first you meet her, you're like, I'm not, is she friendly but she's extremely.
Yeah. Do you remember how she became connected to the school?
I don't. I don't remember exactly. I remember when she did, but I don't remember how it came to be. I know it's Ken Trotter's associations of people he knew. But she was definitely a godsend.
So the Howells and the Zepps.
The Howells, the Zepps, the Falconberries, I think they were there from the very beginning. Did you know the Falconberries?
I didn't.
Okay. Can't think of anybody else who's been from the very beginning, but I'm sure there's somebody missing. Yeah.
If you could go back and do it again, is there anything you would have done differently?
Do it again. No, I don't think so. Our big concern in the beginning was, how do you prevent mission drift? And we asked Doug Wilson that. He goes, you don't. It's going to happen. It gradually happens, and there are books written about it, and there's some pretty good stuff out there about preventing mission drift, but unfortunately, usually happens over the money issues. You find somebody who's got deep pockets, and suddenly they're pulling the strings and sending the school in a different direction. And we were always very careful about that. We told Ken, never feel like you've got to take somebody in school who doesn't belong just to fill a seat and for the money. Mm-hmm. Let's stay true to the mission and what we're trying to do here. In the very beginning, I don't think there was even much of a discussion about whether we were going to be evangelistic or discipleship. Because you got to run them differently. You have an evangelistic model where, like, you don't require anybody to be a believer. You just, trust that they're going to become a believer along the way. That was kind of East Hill. Then you have evangelistic, where you don't allow parental involvement. That's Pensacola Christian. Because if you allow non-Christian parents to get involved, it's going to get steered in a different direction as well. Then you have discipleship, which we are. And that's what Ken says. You can't disciple somebody who's dead.
Yeah.
If you're dead on the bottom, you're not, what are you going to teach them? So you end up getting the behavior and not the heart. So that's where we initially just said we're going to be a discipleship school, require one parent to be a believer. And that's something I don't regret doing.
Yeah.
Evangelism takes place on the outsides, but you don't, and it sounds harsh to say you don't invite the enemy into your camp, but you don't.
I'm glad you made that decision.
Yeah, well, we are too. I think that's a good one. I can't think of anything else we'd have done differently. I read Mortimer Adler when I read him a lot, but one of his little analogies he uses is over containers. He said, every child is a container. Some are quarts, some are pints, some are gallons, but you can't control the size of the container. You control what you put in it. So you put cream in it. You don't put skim milk, so that's the way we approach education. Is you put in cream, some children are going to be pints. They're going to get a C on the test. They just don't have the capacity for it. But you don't dumb it down for them.
Yeah.
You teach to the higher level and bring everybody up to that instead of teaching to the lowest common denominator, which I think is happening a lot in the government schools. Like, here's what everybody can get. This is the minimum standard. So that's what we're teaching. Yeah.
And I think we're often surprised by what the kids can do when we hold them to a higher standard.
Absolutely. I mean, our kids, I watch Hannah with hers, and they're memorizing chapters of the Bible. It's not a verse, Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people real proud their child learned a memory verse. Well, how about that in context learning? And all the Trinitas kids do, with the scripture memory, they do. And you just watch them on one of those nights where they're reciting, one of the, it's amazing to me. I'm like, all right, I couldn't remember that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is amazing.
And even Ed Varela with the music and having them memorize those parts and, and I got to speak highly of him. I mean, how far has Trinitas music come because of Ed Varela?
Oh, yeah.
It's just amazing what he gets out of those children.
I know he didn't direct the play, but Miranda did.
Yeah.
But I was just, as they were doing this musical, the first ever musical at Trinitas, I was just like, this is the fruit of many people's labors, but especially Ed and their ability to be able to do that kind of music.
Yeah.
But also all the Chrysostoms and recitations and all the things related to memory that they do and all the things related to presentation that they do and being in front of an audience and how to conduct themselves. And then again, just Ed with their musical acumen, how it all came together and they were able to pull off this amazing musical drama. Like how
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And this isn't, I've seen Pensacola Children's Chorus. Some of the others, they do good work. It didn't hold a candle next to that.
Yeah.
It's just good, just excellent. But I'm glad God's brought along people like Ed Varela to do that and that he's using his gift in that way. I mean, he just has a gift with getting it to sound like he wants it to sound.
Thankful for him, for sure.
Yeah, and all the teachers. So.
Yeah, all the teachers, yeah.
We had a debate about whether that was the first musical or not, though. I went up to James. Yeah, I said, Alice in Wonderland. He goes, I don't think that was a musical. I was like, had like 12 songs in it or something. I mean, because I was a part of that one. I mean, I wasn't directly, but then I asked Wendy Phillips because she played all the music for it. She goes, well, that wasn't really musical. And she stopped and goes, I think it was a musical. So Alice in Wonderland. Anyway, if you talk to any of the kids who were in that, they're going to tell you that was a musical.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Good. We have a healthy debate here.
Then. Yeah. Well, we'll go back and try to iron it out. But it was long enough ago where, Ed Varela wasn't here then, and I don't remember how it all came to be. But to me, it's just gutsy. When I was that age, when I was in high school, you wouldn't have caught me singing. I mean, I was probably getting in front of a group. I could probably barely remember my name, stammer out a few words.
Yeah. We didn't have any of that kind of training.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Public speaking, anything. Well, I don't know. Were you went to...
I was a public school kid, in Mississippi, so.
Oh, yeah.
We, not even the best of the public schools. So. Rural Mississippi. So speaking of music.
Yeah.
You mentioned playing guitar.
Yeah, my parents, they required us to take 2 years of piano. No choice. Took 2 years of piano, and then we could choose our instrument after that. So I started that when I was probably 7 or so. And I'm one of those who wishes I'd stuck with the piano. I'd play a little piano, but not like I'd like to. But I wish I'd have stuck with it. But then we could pick our instruments. Well, my dad played the accordion. So I thought, okay. All right, the accordion. So, I took maybe 10 years of accordion lessons.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So which is kind of like playing the banjo. It sounds really good if you're in a closet by yourself, but nobody really wants to hear it.
You play, is that polka? Do you do
everybody thinks polka, but I don't know.
You do other stuff with it?
Yeah, you play all kinds of things on it. You play, you play some classical things. Well, that doesn't fit, but what I really walked away from with accordion is music theory, because the left hand is arranged in the order. If you mentioned being able to play G, C, and D or something like that, yeah. Okay, well, that's one of the triads there, but they're all in order. So the keys are, C, G, D, A, E, B. They're all in order of the key of the flats and sharps. So F has 1 flat, B flat has 2, E flat has 3, A flat has 4. Everything's in order there. Mm-hmm. So it really taught me. And plus the triads are in order. So you got like A, E, and D are all together. So anyway, I learned to play it way too well, and I'm a little embarrassed about that. But anyway,
I wish you had brought it with you today.
Because what my in the high school thing, always put as hobby. So mine was playing the accordion and growing bonsai trees, which was really on there. And as my brother said once, if I'd have known myself in high school, I'd beat myself up. I would have deserved it. I was probably a pretty nerdy kid.
That's funny.
In fact, one of my teachers comes to me now as a patient. I saw her yesterday, and I've told her numerous times, I said, if I knew me in high school, I wouldn't come to me. And she said, no, you were a good kid. I was like, all right, I'll take that at face value. But,
you probably want the nerdy kids doing your medical work.
I would guess, because all the quarterbacks and everything are selling T-shirts out on the beach. They're probably doing fine, but I don't know. But I got in college and I picked up the guitar. And it's funny, one of my best friends growing up, Joey Poles, he's a judge in town here now, but Joey played the bass. We both picked up the bass guitar first. I don't know why, but we both did. And then I went to college, he went to college, and we both came back with guitars. And he's like, I learned to play guitar. I said, me too. I don't know how we both did that. But so the guitar, I became fairly decent. I'm a little not great now, but and the piano, I've tried to reacquaint myself with it. And my wife will tell you I sit down and just make a mess of it. And she probably, when she hears me playing, it's like, here comes that song again. But
what's your favorite song on the piano?
Oh, I don't know. I love Pathetique, Beethoven. I can generally play that middle movement because it's just kind of slow. It's very pretty.
Nice. Were you ever in any bands?
Yeah, I played. I feel like I set you up, but I didn't. You don't know anything about this, do you? Yeah, I played the guitar and I played the bass at Olive Baptist when we went there in the orchestra, but I played the guitar in a little band we called Fourcast because there were 4 of us, F-O-U-R cast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's cute. All the good names were taken already. Anyway, I played in that little group, and all of us can sing, but we're all basically, we can carry a tune. But none of us had a strong enough voice to be like a lead singer. So we didn't do any good songs. We did a lot of jazz and a lot of acoustic alchemy, a lot of kind of fusion stuff like that or whatever.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, the guitar wasn't, Joey played the bass in that one, and then the drummer was, the keyboard player was an architect, and the drummer was a professional woodworker, so that stuff is beautiful. But so we played, we played a few places, but jazz guitar, you play the guitar, some of the chords are just ridiculous. They're just really hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a pretty good rhythm player, but if it's a lead part, I'm not great at that. To me, it's like, that Simon game where it lights up. You have to remember, that's what it is to me. It's like Simon. It's like, all right, I gotta remember to push that string down there and play that note. But so I didn't really enjoy part of that.
How long did that go on for?
We played for probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
But down at the basement of my office, if you've ever been down there, it's where we take our bad patients.
I've never been
down there. You can't hear screaming. You haven't. So you can't hear screaming.
I didn't even know you had a basement in that building.
Well, it's kind of that thing, when you pull in the parking lot, you see that little low roof.
Yeah.
So I wasn't using it for anything. I couldn't see people down there because of ADA. You got to get people downstairs, and it's not plumbed down there. So Dennis, we need plumbing. But it was a great place to play because you could leave all the instruments set up and just walk away from it, come back the next week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was a very, very nice little room. And honestly, you could play loud and nobody could hear you. And that was kind of our theme, is we're not good, but we're loud. What we lack in talent, we make up for in volume.
There you go.
So we actually... the first song we went through, we said, let's learn this one first. It was by a Brentwood Jazz Quartet, and it was called Praise to the Lord. It was, da, 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 the one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we got all the way through it, and we just all had big smiles. It's like, that went really well. It sounded, because our whole thing was, let's make it sound as close to the original as we can, and we pretty much got it.
Nice.
So that was, yeah. So a lot of Brentwood Jazz stuff was really good. We enjoyed playing that. But after a while, they were just staying till 2 and 3 in the morning. I'm like, I've got work tomorrow. And so I know Joey does. So anyway, it just kind of sucked all the joy out of it. And I was just like, I'm kind of done.
So just eventually kind of faded off.
Yeah, and they got another guitar player, which was good. I was probably the weakest link in that thing. So
is it still going?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But before I even left, we added a trumpet player and a rhythm guy playing rhythm. So there was some fun stuff.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. It was enjoyable while it lasted. It was just a season of life. And
are there any instruments in there still?
Down there? No. There's nothing down there. Everybody gathered their stuff.
Put your piano in there?
I didn't play the piano down there. We have a piano at home, and I've got a couple of keyboards.
Okay.
So Ben wants one of them. I'll let him. He's trying to learn piano.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we tried to do that with our kids. Take 2 years of piano, and Hannah's still stuck with the violin and the flute. She still plays. But,
Oh, okay.
yeah, she's pretty talented. And
Yeah.
Ben and Rob have Rob played the cello for a bit, and Ben took piano lessons for a bit.
But they didn't stick with it long term.
I don't think so. I don't think they're still playing anything. But,
Yeah.
You steer them. You just try to expose them to everything, and if it's something they're interested in doing, they'll do it. If not, it's fine. So we tried not to be those parents with, here's what you're going to do, and because this is our expectation, and we wish we'd have done it. And,
well, you did sort of lead me into that, but I also maybe had a hot tip this morning from a certain Yuri Burrito that told me I should ask you about your playing days.
Oh, the playing days, yeah. I still, I keep the guitars out in the living room right now at my house. I broke it out the other night, and I thought, well, I don't know. My fine skills are still good, so just I don't want to start off going, I'm deteriorating. So, but I can't play as well as I used to when I was in my 30s and 40s. It's just not quick, but I can still make the chords, and so I get it out every now and then, make sure I can still play. But I don't take out the accordion anymore.
No,
my dad had 2 of them, so he gave me his very first one he had, and it just needs a lot of repair. I mean, if it were ever to sound like anything again. The other one he actually gave to me, and then I gave it back to him when he went to assisted living because he needed something to do. And then he ended up giving it to a nephew, which is fine. So I never know what happened to it. My nephew was like, I still have Grandpa's accordion. I'm like, oh, so that's where that went. But
good to know, yeah.
Good to know if I ever need to borrow it. But at one point, I had 5. I think I owned five guitars. Anyway, the electrics and hollow bodies, and might have been 7. I tell everybody my last guitar was the most expensive because my wife said, you have 7 guitars and I don't have a piano yet. So that one cost me a piano. So if you come in my living room and see that piano, that's where that came from.
Nice.
I'm like, all right.
That seems fair.
Yeah, it seemed fair at the time. I was like, that one's really was a mistake. I went one too far. No, I'm glad to have the piano there. The kids, they play on it. The grandkids come and bang on it.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know this musical side of you.
Yeah, it's fun. I like the artistic kind of things. So that's the woodworking side too. I just like creating things. And
Do you do that too? Oh,
yeah, nice. I like woodworking. So there's a few pieces in the house I've made, and we moved my parents in. We added on to the house, and I lost part of the garage. I lost my woodworking part of the garage back in 2012. So I sold some of the equipment, gave some of it away, and kept some of it. But when we bought another little house. We used an Airbnb, but it had a little shed in the back, a shop, 20 by 20. So I started putting all the tools back in it and trying to get it going again. So I've done that. Let's see, I made a clock that's in our place, and the hall tree, I made it, and there's a game table, this rosewood. So cool. I made a few things. Hopefully the kids will fight over one day. Yeah. Probably not. They're like, who wants to take this?
I'm sure those would be valued pieces. That's cool.
But I want to start making things again. There's a place in Century that went out of business, or he closed the doors. It was a woodworking place, and he was auctioning. He gave it to an auction house. They sold all his equipment and all the wood. And so I bought a stack of wood that's probably a lifetime supply of wood for me. It's like cedar, and there's some oak, and there's mahogany, which I love mahogany. It's my favorite wood. It's just very good, very easy to work with. And then I bought this table saw, which is just 7 feet long. It's enormous.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those where you're bidding on it. You think, I hope I don't win this. I don't have anywhere to put it. But then it's almost like I'm bidding on it, and I'm not going to lose. And so when I won it, I was like, yes. Oh, no. This is thought I've got to go get this thing now. So
probably weighs 1,000 pounds.
Oh my gosh, it was so heavy. Yeah. Ben helped me, so we went up there together. That's how I got the smashed thumb. In fact, it's growing out now.
Nice, yeah.
It's a point of interest. It must be like, what did you do to your thumb? Keep gloves on so nobody sees it. Doesn't hurt, but that's where I did that. Is getting that saw.
Oh man, yeah.
It's enormous. I had to clear out this big space and.
Have you used it yet?
No. It's 220, so I've got to run a separate line for it.
Okay.
Then my friend, who's the professional woodworker, who's the drummer in our group, I showed him a picture. He goes, I think that's 3-phase. You're going to have to rewire your shop.
Oh, wow.
But they make adapters for it. Ron Smith was immediate. Goes, oh, no, they make, you can get a 3-phase to 1-phase adapter or whatever, some kind of converter, inverter. So I bought one of those, but I haven't hooked it up.
Yeah.
Hadn't cut the first thing on it.
There's always next year.
Right. But it looks good in the picture. I own this saw. Can't use it, but I own this saw.
That's cool. So are you actively doing any woodworking? Or?
Yeah, I am, but it's nothing real fun at the moment. I'm remaking the base to the columns at the front of our house. Our house is 1906, so there's something always rotting.
Wow. Okay.
And the base to the columns are, so they're like 14 inches tall. It's not fun, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
I've got them all cut out. I just have to assemble them and then seal all the edges and prime them. And then I've got to lift up the porch and get these, slide underneath the columns. And so
sounds like a job.
It is a job. I've done it before because I've replaced a couple of them already.
Oh, okay. You have to get like some big jacks to.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's doable. It's always an excuse to go out and buy a new tool.
So you prefer to do that yourself rather than hire it out?
Anything that I can do myself, that if I had to pay somebody to do something that I could do, it makes me crazy. I might step over a $20 bill, but if I have to pay somebody $50 to do that, I'm going to do it. So, but yeah, there's some joy. Like at COVID, I rebuilt a fence out by our pool, and it's not a big deal, but there's some joy just standing back at the end of it and looking and going, yeah, I did that. It's all rotting now because they don't make wood like they used to. But,
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, they don't. The pressure-treated wood is just not good anymore.
Yeah. But the satisfaction of having made something with your own hands.
Yeah, it's the same with woodworking. You know, I learned from my granddad, who was from that Depression age where you find something on a trash pile and you turn it into something. But he would make everything out of 2x4s and plywood and paint it white. You know, but the woodworking skill was there. It's just the first thing he saw me make out of oak. He's like, son, that stuff's like gold. I was like, well, at the end of the day, that's what I have to show for it, is that thing. So I'm going to use good wood. But the nice thing about woodworking is kind of like photography. If you're not happy with what you just did, if you cut a piece wrong, just cut another piece. You know, take another photo if that one didn't.
Okay,
Yeah, you got a chance to correct it. But
that makes sense.
Every now and then I'll walk by the fish tank at my office, the base, the cover for it. I made that. That's mahogany. But there's one cut on there, one corner that isn't right. And you would probably never notice it, but every time I walk by it, I'm like, I should have recut that piece.
That's funny.
I should have done that one again.
I'll have to pay attention now.
Oh, yeah, you'll find it. You'll find it. If you're a woodworker, you'll walk right to it and go, what happened there? Why'd you leave that?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm not really a woodworker, but I'll pretend like I saw it.
Well,
when I see it.
You'll notice it. But the main thing with that was, okay, it's got to hold up this 600 pounds of rock, and it's probably over 1,000 pounds, the whole aquarium. But
the water is heavy, yeah.
It's all heavy. So, yeah, main thing is let's not make it fall down, and let's make it look good. So,
now, do you maintain that aquarium yourself?
I don't. I used to, but it just got to be a chore, and so... Got to the point where the guy who set it up for me, Reefscapes, by the way, he's excellent, Alan Netzker, but he set it up, but he and I kind of trade now. It's like he takes care of the aquarium and I take care of his teeth.
Yeah. That's a good trade.
It's a good trade. He does a good job with it, but I find myself going out to the reception room so infrequently now. I'll see it through the window. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I should go out and look and see what kind of new coral he's putting there or whatever. See if that fish is still alive or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I've done some freshwater. We had a nice 55-gallon freshwater tank before we moved here. But I've never done the saltwater. I hear it can be pretty challenging. So.
It's a whole little ecosystem. They all are, of course, freshwater too. But the salt, you got protein buildup. So you got the protein skimmers you have to have. The salt has to maintain the right range, of course. But the salt doesn't evaporate. So unless you have a leak somewhere, the salt you usually don't have to mess with a whole lot. But you have to do water changes. And there's always that, like the canary in the cave, there's always one thing that's the most sensitive, and it's usually one of the coral. The fish can live through a lot anyway, but the coral can't. So there's certain pieces of coral you see starting to fade away, and you're like, all right, something isn't right with the water. Stuff's expensive. I mean, one little block of that coral is like $60 for a little piece of it.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
It's another one of those hobbies you can spend as much as you want.
Yeah, and things can go south in a hurry. Yeah. Just like any hobby. Yeah. I know I couldn't have it in my house because I would never maintain it. I mean, it'd just be green. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd maintain it, but who needs that kind of time?
That's why I haven't gotten back into it because I loved it and it was really cool, but...
It's a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
Taking care of it. Yeah. So it's just one of those, if you're dedicated to that hobby, and I enjoy it, I like it, I like looking at it, but...
There's just other things I want to do right now.
You can there's only so many hours in the day.
That's right. So let's talk about dentistry. How did you get into that?
Well, my dad was a dentist, and so from a young age, I wanted to be like Dad, the accordion, and grew up sailing like he did. So it's interesting because when I decided for dentistry, and he wanted to sell his house, I'd already bought his practice, but he wanted to sell his house, and I thought of buying it, but I thought, I'm just becoming Bob. That's what my dad said. I'm just becoming Bob. So I just needed, I didn't buy that house, which was a huge mistake. It's another story, but anyway, so I thought I'd be a dentist when I was a kid. I loved building models. I loved intricate little putting together things, painting the little models, and then crashing them or whatever. But airplanes that hang from the ceiling. I was one of those kids. But then I took a drafting class in high school. Really enjoyed that. Got interested in architecture. So went to Auburn doing architecture for a year and a half. And that architecture school. And I thought, after a year and a half, I thought, nice hobby. Don't think I want to do that for a living. And all my architect patients are now like, you did the right thing. It's rough out there.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, now I see it. There's so many, do-it-yourself home plans. There wasn't back when I was in school in the late 70s, early 80s. There weren't these home builders just doing model houses. But unless you were doing commercial, designing churches and that kind of thing, there just wasn't a lot. So anyway, a year and a half in that, I was at Auburn, and I'd already done a lot of the math classes for that. But when I switched over to pre-med, which is the same track, pre-dentistry, pre-med, it's all the same. But, most people went chemistry or biology, and I went math. I thought, I'll do math because that's just different. Mm-hmm. And I liked math. So
lots of application.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, right. Drill, fill, and bill. That's it. The last part of that. It turned out to be not my best move because Ben was a math major, and he was a natural at it. I mean, he was straight A's, and it just, I told him, I said, well, wait till you're past differential equations and you get into the proofs. And he's like, I love that stuff. It's like, I hated that stuff.
Me too.
I mean, it'd be like 8 people in that upper level class, and every day, Mr. Nolan, you have a proof for no, I don't. And I want to say it took Newton years to develop that proof. Not doing it overnight. Pretty sure that isn't happening. So and there's always a guy in there, this Asian guy, Mr. Yu, you have proof? Yes, sir, I have proof. I'm like, of course you do. So I watched the other guys flourish in it, and I did fine. I mean, obviously, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I think the most useful thing in math was geometry. That's the thing I probably used the most in my life. Statistics, maybe, geometry. Yeah. But the rest of that, calculus and differential equations, not so much. Anyway, so I circled back around to the dentistry, and that was good.
How did you know that's the part of medicine you wanted to do?
Yeah, what appealed to me about it was you set your own hours. I'd watched some of the physicians, they're married to their jobs. They're in there on weekends and nights, and, this is pretty much 8 to 5 and whenever I want, and I take off and don't really answer to anybody as far as my hours and what I want to do. So that part looked appealing. Didn't kill anybody. That looked appealing. And I haven't yet, so that's good.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, I mean,
there's still time.
There's still time. My career is still young. But no, it was a good move, I think.
You decided medicine I want to do something medical.
Yeah, right.
And then
dentistry. The dentistry was, it just kind of fit with all the things I thought I was good at, working with my hands and, creating little things. And it's tedious work. I like that. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Building a ship model, that kind of thing. And used to love that. Still do.
You're building a model for my wife right now.
Yeah. Are you doing okay? Yeah. Still building bridges, a lot like architecture.
Yeah, so, there you go.
It's been a good mix, and I have enjoyed, the profession's changed a lot, but I have enjoyed, the years I've been in it.
So you're at Auburn, you switched to pre-med.
Yeah, so
take us on the journey from
like
there.
Somebody else said on your program, I managed to squeeze 4 years of college into 5. So took me a little longer. Actually, I went through some summers, so I still finished in 4. But I had to make up some credits in the chemistry and biology, and that was fine. I went to Emory for graduate school.
Oh,
That was good. Not too far. Had cancer while I was there. It was a good place to be.
You did?
That's a little part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
You just find something shouldn't be there, and you go to the doctor, and he's like, "Want you in the hospital in an hour?" I'm like, "Well, I have class. I got finals coming up." And no, go to the hospital. So I gave myself, and I had an hour. He said, "Want you in the hospital an hour?" So I gave myself 12 minutes for each of those stages of grieving. You know, an hour for denial and depression and bargaining, anger, and then acceptance. Anyway.
So you're a young guy at this point. You're in grad school.
Yeah.
How old are you? Do you think?
It would have been 23. Go to the doctor there, and it all turned out fine. I mean, it's just, you know, back then they didn't have PET scans, so they didn't. You know, there wasn't no real good way to check for the cancer. There are marker proteins, but he said the only way to be sure is to take some lymph nodes from your back and, you know, biopsy those and see if the cancer spread. So, yeah, I've got a scar all the way down. So if you ever see me swimming, I'll have a T-shirt on just because I don't love the questions. But, I've got a scar all the way down my stomach. So, yeah.
Is that you telling me don't keep asking about this?
No, I had testicular cancer. So I'm not half the man I used to be. You'll probably have to cut that out, won't you? I'm kidding.
We'll see.
No, it's good. I'm not shy about it because I tell patients all the time, and especially if they have cancer, I'm like, I can empathize with that because I've been there.
Well, so. you had kids after that, so.
Yes. Yeah, that was always a concern. I'm going to be having children, and yes, one cylinder.
Well, and you always do the cancer check when we come in, too.
Yeah, I always check for oral cancer. It's just not common to find, but I still look. And that happens on non-smokers, too. Everybody's like, well, I don't smoke. It's like, well, you know.
Do you ever find it?
Occasionally, but it's usually smokers, to be honest.
Okay.
So, you know, there are risk factors that go with it.
Yeah.
I told my mother when I had this cancer, I said, you know, Mom, it's from you putting us too close to the TV. I'm just sitting cross-legged in front of the TV. And she, oh, no, don't tell me. So I just mess with her. My mother, you could just mess with her like that.
Your poor mom.
Yes, exactly.
So you go to the hospital, you have the surgery, it hadn't spread.
No, you had the first surgery, and then a month later you come back and do the other one. It hadn't spread. So then you do the blood test for, it's usually at that point it was every month afterwards. I had the blood test for, you know, HCG and AFP, alpha fetal protein. There's some different protein markers for it. So you check for those, and then, you know, then it goes to 3 months, and then it goes to 6 months, and then it's every year, and then it's every 5 years, and then suddenly they just go, you're cancer-free, please don't come back. Yeah. Tired of looking at you. But it was interesting because I was at Emory, and so I was at Emory Hospital, and so a lot of the students, you know, medical students and us, we all had same classes for the first 2 years, the anatomy, physiology, all that was the same. But so I knew a lot of them, but I'd see them walk by the door, but they would keep walking. And I think their instructor was like, you know, let's not get too personal with our fellow student here. Anyway, which I appreciated.
So that goes well, and you just continue your education.
Yeah, continue education. Goes well. It really brings things at a very young age into perspective because you realize just how fragile life is. And I didn't come close to death or anything, but I've known a lot of people who have died from the same kind of cancer.
If it metastasizes and...
if you just wait too late, you have too much pride to go in. It's like, I'm sure it's nothing. You want to go, what finally prompted you today to come in? It's still not hurting, but, you know. Mine, I went as soon as I knew there was a problem. And it was a good move. I always want to catch things early. Yeah. It's good advice for life. Catch things early.
Yeah. Deal with them early.
Yeah. Deal with things early.
So how long was dental school?
It's 4 years.
What's your favorite memory from then?
I had a couple of good friends. You know, one of them's a believer. We still keep in touch. The other one wasn't a believer. And so he was always a challenge. It was like, you know, we talk about God, and he goes, you know, I always thought you're pretty smart. Why are you know, how can you believe in God? And I said, I think that's why you need to give me the benefit of the doubt. I mean, at least listen to what I have to say. And so he'd listen, but to this day, I don't think he's a believer. So the friendships there.
The friendships,
yeah. So, and I went to a conference one time. One of my classmates was leading, and I was like, this guy. It's almost like the prophet in his own town has no honor. Yeah, it's like, if you knew him in school, you wouldn't be sitting in his lecture right now. But it's kind of fun to watch where everybody's ended up. But,
do you remember like your first medical interaction thing that you had to do?
Yeah, you do. Well, your first injections you give to each other.
Oh, okay.
And so that's always, you know, and they told you if you go slow, don't feel it too much. I mean, we were like 10 minutes, just barely. And so I still go slow when I give injections. I do get people go, I didn't feel a thing. I said, must have done it wrong. That's what you should say. But,
nice.
You know, you want something to talk about later. You want a story. I went to the dentist. That was awful. So if I can have people leave saying, that wasn't so bad, that's usually a compliment. So I'll take that. I'll take that as a win.
I recently heard, and I don't know if this is true, so you can correct me, but that there's a high amount of depression and suicide amongst dentists.
You recently heard that? That's like old news.
Is it old news?
It's like used to be postal workers and then dentists. Yeah. I don't
New
know.
to me, I guess. I didn't know.
I don't know. You know what it is? I think it's because when they all the time, I'm a dentist. Oh, I hate the dentist.
Nobody wants to be at the dentist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my whole thing was just turn that around. Let me try to make you leave going, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I try to do that. But it's funny because we were looking at car shopping. We were doing car shopping and we're looking at cars, and Kathy was in the front seat because it was going to be her car, and the car salesman was up there. And I was in the back seat, and she's test driving it, and he goes, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I'm a dentist." He goes, "Oh, I hate the dentist." I said, "I hate car salesmen." And he went, and I went, "No, I really don't like car salesmen," which I don't for the most part.
Right.
Now, there's some good ones, but I was like, "Really, you want to insult the guy who's about to?"
Makes no sense.
I know. It's like,
are you trying to sell the car?
Right. Yeah. And when they're in my chair, I hate the dentist. It's like, you would never do that to your IRS agent if you're getting audited.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I'm not through with you yet.
You're right.
Just think about it. Be a little nice. I don't know. I know
so people are actually rude to you in the chair like that?
I know what they mean. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
they're not thinking about what they're saying.
No, they're not. And then they'll try to turn around. "Oh, it's not you. I don't hate you. I just hate the dentist." I'm like, then I'm like, I didn't do this to you.
Right.
I'm here to get you out of a problem. I didn't cause this.
Right.
So they get mad at me like I did this. It's like, we can do this or not. It doesn't matter to me. But, I'm here to get you out of a problem.
Well, you did that for Mandy recently.
Yeah, well.
Very thankful for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was hurting pretty bad, and and you helped us through that.
Well, I hope so. I try to. I do the best I can. That's what I always end with. Just do the best I can. So anyway.
Appreciate you letting me text you.
Yeah,
off of hours and
it's good.
outside of hours.
It's not the weirdest thing. We were actually on vacation, and this was last summer, and I'll tell on Yuri, but we were I think we were at Prince Edward Island. It might have been in Nova Scotia or something, and Yuri texted. He goes, "Man, I hate to text you so early. I'm sitting there drinking my coffee at 7:30 in the morning. I hate to text you at 3:30 in the morning because he's over in Washington State." I said, "It's 7:30 here, man. It's fine." But he was actually going to text me knowing that it was 3:30. He was going to text me at 3:30 in the morning. I would have answered it. I like that story. We hadn't do anything for Yuri, of course. But
yeah,
so I ended up calling him in a prescription. I thought that's the weirdest thing I've ever done is calling a prescription from Nova Scotia to Washington State. But,
do you have any bad memories from dental school?
Cancer.
Other than the cancer.
The cancer wasn't horrible.
The schooling part itself?
No, the school was fine. I enjoyed Auburn more as far as just the school. Auburn was friendly. It was Southern people. You walk down the concourse and people say hi, and you say hi at Emory and they're like, "Oh, do you pump gas or something? You're from the South." Anyway.
Really?
I don't know. It's just a culture. It's just it was a private school, so there's people from everywhere, and
yeah.
So, but I didn't rub shoulders with everybody. I rubbed shoulders with who was in my school, and there were just 80. Well, like 320, I guess, in the total dental school. 80 in my class, 82, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, smallish. No bad memories.
So you came back here. You purchased your dad's, or took over your dad's practice?
I went in with Dad for a while, but he was on Palafox Street, a little small office. I mean, it had 3 rooms total. One hygienist who'd been with him since he was 20, I guess. I don't know. She was 112, I think, at that point. So, no, I can talk about Doris now, she called. It was a small office, had like 3 parking places. And so I went in with him for a while. I just met Kathy. In fact, I'd met her that summer. I'd already graduated dental school, but I hadn't found out if I passed my boards. And so I met her brother up on, I don't know if you're familiar with Ridgecrest. It's a Baptist camp in North Carolina. Anyway, they had different weeks. They had like Foreign Mission Week. They had Medical Missions Week, which was this one that I was at. They had Youth Week or something. They had all kinds of different themes for a week. So this one was Medical Missions Week. And anyway, after about 3 days, I met her brother. We sat up next to each other on this rocking chair ridge, it's called, and you'd sit in rocking chairs. And we'd met and started talking. And after about 3 days, he said, "I have a sister I think you'd like." And I thought, what's wrong with her? Why are you trying to pawn your sister off on me?
Yeah,
and I'm embarrassed about this, but he showed me her picture, and I went, okay. She's cute.
Introduce us.
Yeah, so he did. He invited, this is an offshoot of your previous question, but it leads into it, I guess. But he invited himself to my house. So he's a physician, by the way. I think he was in St. Louis at that point. He's working in an emergency room. He's internal medicine, but he eventually moved to New York and started counseling so many AIDS patients. He became a psychiatrist, so that's what he is now. But anyway, he invited himself to my house in Pensacola, and then she was working at the St. Augustine School for the Deaf and Blind, and he invited her over. He made her come. She's like, she had already a flight back to her home in Missouri, so he diverted her flight because he has that kind of money or pool or something. And she, I remember her telling me, she told him on the phone, she goes, I don't want to come meet some dentist. I was like, I wouldn't either. But anyway, so he brought her over for kind of a blind weekend, just threw us together.
It worked out.
It worked out. So we got, I think that was in August, July or August. It was the beginning of August. And we got engaged in December and then got married the next May of 87. So we're coming up on 40 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
39 years. She forgets too, just so you don't think it's just me. We've gone halfway through the day before our anniversary.
It's not like you're a math major.
No, right, exactly. Math is hard. 87 minus 1. Anyway, we were married in that May, but I worked with my dad for probably the first year, and the space issue was just a thing. Mm-hmm. And plus, when you're first married, you kind of want to get off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
So we moved to South Florida to Cape Coral, Fort Myers. And I worked for a guy down there for about 6 years. So our first 2 kids were born in Fort Myers, Lee Memorial Hospital. And anyway, we moved back when Hannah was she wasn't quite 2, almost. We moved back then and bought a little house for $58,000. Wish I still had it. I know. Another woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
So wish I still had that house. But went back. Dad was ready to sell his practice at that point. So I worked on Palafox for, I think, just 2 years and then moved to where I am now. Bought that building.
So your dad retired and you took over the location at Palafox?
Which made him very happy because he just could walk away from it. And so
easy transition.
I still have a few of those patients. I mean, still a few that just come from the very beginning. I used to see your dad and Doris. They said, what's that hygienist's name? I was like, Doris. She was there forever. But,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But Doris, she probably worked a little longer than she might have should have.
Oh, yeah.
But she went, and my dad too, that whole transition to wearing gloves just wasn't easy because you're used to working bare hand, which now it just seems very odd not wearing gloves.
Yeah.
But, she would come up to a patient and goes, yeah, I've got this thing on my hands. The doctor can't figure it out. Oh, well, let's get to working. I overheard this. I'm like, Doris, you can't do that. You can't start a conversation that way. Not here. Anyway, she eventually, I think she was like 73 or something. I had to finally go, Doris, you just need to retire. She wasn't doing a great job anymore. And she was sweet. Everybody loved her. And it was time.
Yeah, that's hard. That's got to be difficult. Hard. So you moved to your current location. So
bought that from Haynes Smith Orthofinelli. They were a gastroenterologist on that building. So.
Oh, okay.
And they'd moved out to that big building on Tippin across from the airport, that big 3-story. I think it's Covenant. Now it was part of the medical center for a while. It's that big brick building.
Okay.
It's Covenant. It's some kind of hospice thing, Covenant Care or something.
Okay.
But they moved out to there, so they had like 4 doctors in my office.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty crowded, I'm sure.
Did you have to do a lot of renovation or anything when you moved in?
Yeah, I mean, I had to plumb it because the rooms were already there, but we require all the water and suction and all that. So I had to do that part and just slow things along the way. I mean, somebody had left the sprinkler, so they were spraying it. There's a crawl space underneath it, and so there's some rotten wood, and just dealing with that over the years, just stuff.
Always something with these buildings.
Yeah.
In tropical climates.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's some advantage to things being, on a foundation. But plumbing was fortunately a little easier being off grade. So
that's true.
Yeah. So it wasn't as expensive as it could have been, I guess. It's been a good location.
How long have you been there now?
Since 95. So
okay. So what's the craziest story you can tell me?
I think some of the most interesting ones are what happens to people's dentures, which is why we say just keep your teeth, because if you can take it out, I mean, all the stories you hear about, the dog got a hold of them, which is really pretty common. They'll take them out at night. You set them down on the floor by the bed, and the dog gets them.
Oh, man.
Or people throwing up while they're out fishing, and they watch them go down to the bottom like that. So I've heard those stories. One was somebody moving a refrigerator, and he had it in his pocket as a partial metal, and it bent it. I said, look, there's no way this is going back. It's precision made. He goes, look, just try. So I took it and just bent it. And I said, try that. And went right back in. I'm like, so there we go. There goes that. But it's just anything you can take out, you can lose or misplace. The those aren't interesting stories. One guy said I was replacing a partial, but he was playing pool with Jackie Gleason. Do you remember Jackie Gleason?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. You might be too young, but
I mean, I know.
yeah. But he was playing pool, and Jackie Gleason went back with his pool cue and hit his mouth and knocked the teeth out. And so it's like, and he gave you a partial. He didn't even put a bridge there or anything. I mean, he should have sprung for the good stuff. But I don't know.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just things like that.
Lots of just routine.
Yeah. A lot of bread and butter, day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. So. How many teeth do you think you've pulled over the years?
I don't even know. I wish I'd have kept track and how many fillings and all
Thousands.
That. You'd like to think the computer software is keeping up with it, but you switch computer systems. I mean, I guess you could do an average and then extrapolate or something, but I don't know. You know, when you're doing a mission trip, because I've done some of those, they always want to know exactly how much you've done. They want to calculate what is the actual value of what you've done. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do you want? You know, they just want to put a number on it and make the mission trip look more valuable or something. He did $20,000 worth of dentistry. It's like, really? You know, that's what you want to... I see you want to keep up with how many people made a decision or something like that, but anyway. Yeah, I never was good at that. I was like, I just make up a number.
You see anything wild on those mission strips?
Well, I mean, yeah, but not usually related to the teeth part. I mean, we went, the last one I went on, I took Hannah with me because I wanted her to see that, you know, what we see in America is not a cross section of the world. Yeah. It's the world, you know, we went to El Salvador. But, yeah, it's how poor the people are. I mean, it's amazing. And it makes you start really being very grateful that even the most impoverished in America are better off than the most well-to-do down there. Anyway, she was helping with the optometrist guy, but they were giving out sunglasses. You know, people donate stuff before you go, but people thought they had to earn the sunglasses. It's like, you know, they were telling Hannah, it hurts when I look at the sun. It's like, well, you don't have to tell me that to get a pair of sunglasses. I mean, please don't look at the sun. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but stop staring at the sun. Yeah. Good stories, gave away a bunch of wheelchairs and that kind of thing. But
what would you tell someone who's considering going into dentistry?
Don't do it. No, it's a good profession. It's changed. So it's not what it was when I came out. It's very much run by insurance companies now and corporations. So a lot of the offices have been bought by corporate offices, and really their bottom line is the money. So, you know, and there's one chain, I won't mention their name. you know, I'm about to say it, but I won't. But anyway, their dentist there is required to treatment plan $2,500 worth of work on anyone that comes in. $2,500 you're in it. So I have people come in and go, you know, I've never had a cavity before, and I was like, you know, I'll look at their mouth. You got two. That's it. You got these two that need filling. So, you know, I just be wary. Go spend a day with somebody who does it. I would tell anybody in any profession or any young person who's thinking of doing a certain thing, go spend a day with somebody who does it. Ask them those questions. Would you do this again? What do you like about it? What do you love about it? What don't you like about it? You know, what's the rub? Because every job's got a rub to it. There's something where you go, I love my job except for this. Find out what that is and see if it's something you can tolerate. So,
what is that for you?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a huge one anymore. I mean, there were things when I was younger, just frustrations. I remember coming home one time and I said, I'd probably been practicing 3 or 4 years. We were living in Cape Coral, and I told my wife, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this my whole life. She didn't say anything, but she later told me, she says, oh, no, we're going to be poor. But at that point, I was like, I don't care. I'll be poor. The frustrations are mostly dealing with awake patients. You got people, there's a lot of patient management, and you don't learn a lot of that in school. So either you learn how to manage it or it just becomes a frustration to you. So I think over time you learn to manage it. So
what do you think helped you learn?
I think it's putting yourself in their shoes. It's just, okay, I understand they don't want to be here, and this isn't necessarily something I even want to have to do, but it's got to be done. And so let's talk our way through it. And I can't spend a half hour with everybody in a counseling session. And here's what you need to be thinking while we're doing this. And I had one lady recently, she's like, this one was a source of frustration as well. She's like, I don't want to be numb. So, and people will say this, I don't want to be numb, so be gentle. I'm like, okay, number one, I always try to be gentle. Secondly, I don't have two ways of doing this.
Right.
You know, all that decay's got, whatever it is I'm doing, all that's got to be done. Doesn't matter if you're numb or not, it's got to be done. So she didn't want to be numb, very adamant about it. Okay, that's fine. She goes, but it helps me if you'll count to 10 during the procedure. Just count to 10 and, you know, tell me how long she said, tell me how long it'll take. Tell me what to count to. In the beginning of the procedure, I said, just count to 1,000. We'll be done. She goes, oh, no, I need piecemeal. So now suddenly it's on me.
While you're trying to do this very precise thing.
So almost everything I was doing, I was like, okay, because I was preparing her tooth for a crown, which it's going to hurt. I had one guy, he goes, I was pulling 2 teeth. He goes, do I have to be numb for this? I said, no. He goes, really? Will it hurt? And I said, yeah, it'll hurt. Of course it's going to hurt. You want to be numb, trust me. But she didn't want to be numb for this crown, and it's going to hurt. So every time, what do I count to? Count to 10. Just count to 10. I don't even know. I don't know how fast she's counting or slow.
Yeah.
I just got to do this work. And, if somebody can sit still, that's fine. So now I'm venting to you. So you're getting my whole frustration.
That's good.
But I don't know. It's just things like that. It's like when I went to the oral surgeon recently, I had to have an implant because I split a tooth. It happens to me too. I didn't get a get out of jail free card when I got out of school. Well, I'm like, you'll never have a problem. Here's your green card. But he was asking me how I want things. I said, look, just do what you do. You do it how you're comfortable. He's talking about the brands to put in. He had the brand. I've got 2 other implants that are Zimmer. This one, he puts in No Bubble Eye Care. He goes, well, I guess I can get Zimmer. I said, put in what you're comfortable with. Please just do. I wanted him to do what he wanted to do and do it. He's going to do the best job on what just make yourself happy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that would be nice if everybody just came and said, just do what you got to do. I don't mind if somebody's afraid. I mean, they're in the chair. That's half the battle. The other half's just getting them through that. But like I say, when they get to the end of it and they're like, I didn't even feel that injection. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
I work on that. I truly do. I don't want them to feel it. But anyway, that 1 to 10 thing, and she comes in every few years. I'm like, here we go. I got to pick a number.
I don't understand not wanting to, rather being in pain.
I don't get it
numb.
either. It's like, this is such an easy thing just to get you numb. I promise you, where she needed it, she wasn't even going to feel it. I can give you one you don't feel.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit there and make me nervous. My heart rate goes up.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hurt you. I truly don't want to hurt you. I want you to tell people. I don't want you going home saying, that's the worst thing ever.
Right.
Isn't it? And there are some people I just have to go, they just on and on about it. I'm like, look, just pretend like it's going to be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And then when we walk out of here, you'll go, if that's going to be the scale, let's just go ahead and pretend it's going to be there. And if it's down here, that's good.
You way exceeded expectations.
That's it. That is when I look at surgeons and I think, your people go to sleep. That's so great. Because doing the actual procedure isn't hard. I know what I'm doing. I can get that done. But the patient management. But anyway, your original question, what would I tell a young person? Go spend a day with somebody. Just find out what those frustrations are. No matter what they're doing.
Yeah, for any kind of job.
Any kind of job.
Yeah.
So when I stopped thinking architecture, I started thinking, what am I going to do? My dad told me that. I said, go spend a day because I was thinking engineering. So he's a structural engineer. I went and spent a day with the structural engineer. I thought I could do that. But do I want to do that? And, with all those, I just landed on no.
Yeah.
And I already know what looking like, being a dentist looked like because that was Dad. The other thing I always ask kids who are like 15, I say, they got their permit. I say, who's easier to drive with, Mom or Dad? Is always a quick answer. It's never a hesitation. It's like, Dad, hands down. It's kind of fun to know.
Yeah.
And some of it I already know the answer because I can look at the personality of the parent and I think, they'd be a mess teaching a kid to drive. They'd be a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know how my kids would have answered because both of us were a little bit of a nervous wreck.
It's challenging.
It is challenging.
Yeah. And
it's expensive too.
Yeah.
It's 15-year-olds who don't have their license or their permit or even the 16. I'm like, you don't have nowhere to go. Believe me. Just don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save your parents the insurance money for a couple of years.
It's a big hit. Especially for the boys. So
yeah. Well, Gary Cumberland, after his daughter had her 3rd accident, he told me when my kids were starting to drive, he said, when your kids have an accident, don't tell the insurance company. Just write the check.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's hurt, you have to tell them.
Yeah.
But, otherwise just write the check. That was good advice because they all backed into somebody. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them. That's the most dangerous thing is backing up. You're going to hit somebody. So
yeah. Well, soon all the cars will be self-driving. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
like photography, that'll be self-taking pictures.
Yeah. Well, they're taking pictures too while they're driving. So.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Well, cars have certainly got safer, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Between airbags and backup cameras, and it's not quite the worry it was.
It's good to see those advances.
Yeah, it is too.
Yeah. So, what's the craziest advance in dentistry?
CAD CAM kind of stuff. I mean, the computerized, the scanning we do. When it first came out, I was scanning a guy, and he was like, "Man, I designed the ejector seat for F-22," and he said, "That's what we do. We scan and mill those parts out of titanium." And So he was impressed that it finally came to dentistry. But
Yeah.
we used to have to put the goo in your mouth and everything, and we still have to do that occasionally. But now it's scanning, and there's no, we used to say the impressions were like marking it with, measuring it with a micrometer, marking it with chalk, and cutting it with an axe. So by the time you're done, you're nowhere close. There's so many places for error, but with the scanning, it goes straight from that to the lab, and they mill this thing, and it's very precision fitting, and that's been fun because you're not having to worry about, and they can still mess up. There's certain things that can be messed up, but it's a lot less frustration than it used to be with impressions, because then you're wondering, where did this go wrong?
Yeah.
Was it with my technique of taking the impression? Did it sit too long before he poured the model? So there's so many places for distortion, and so just trying to figure out where that went wrong and blame. The lab's like, well, y'all did this. You didn't get a good temporary where everything shifted or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is pretty much, if you get a bad back, it's either your scan or they're milling, but it's usually they're milling, so which hardly ever happens. I mean, they're very, very good, very well fitting crowns. So that's probably the biggest advance. The materials, not doing a lot of cast metal anymore. I mean, part of it's the cost of gold. And back when I started, a back tooth would just you make it a gold. It wasn't a social statement. It was just the best. So you put it in the front, it's a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. These days,
when you overlay all your front teeth.
Yeah, we still see that. And occasionally someone will come in and say, I want a gold tooth here. I'm like, no. I mean, if you already need a crown there, I'll put a gold one there. But I'm not grinding down a perfectly good tooth to put gold there.
People come in and ask for that.
Not as much anymore, because they go to some flea market in New Orleans or something and buy those teeth. It's a mess.
Oh, man.
Take those off years later. It's like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other thing that's changed is probably access to Google and the internet. People come in with their own ideas, and I've been doing oil pulling. What do you think of that? I'm like, all right. Throw some salt over your shoulder while you're doing it. I don't know. You hear weird stuff, and it's like, no.
What is it? Oil pulling?
Oil pulling. It's just you put this kind of oil in your mouth and swish around, and it makes cavities go away. I don't know what it's supposed to do. Some kind of voodoo.
Okay. All right.
It's just some strange ideas out there, and little fads, almost like you get with weight loss. It's like, here's what's working this week. It didn't work last week. Now it works. We still see that. Yeah, little home remedies on the people. There's a lot of information out there, and some of it's true.
Some of it's true. Yeah. Do you find a lot of people, maybe not as much in your industry, but self-diagnosing?
What they do, yeah, and it's not hard to do. We see a lot of misses. I mean, even my sister-in-law came in once, and she was having pain on the right side. I couldn't find anything wrong with her teeth. I mean, in the end, it turned out to be shingles. And who would have known?
Yeah.
Shingles right there, but yeah. And, pain in the jaw. We've seen one of those, and there's nothing wrong with the teeth. I said, you need to go to your heart doctor. It's, your heart. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, I was about to have a heart attack. So,
oh, wow.
Some things are interrelated, and some people, they think jaw pain. They immediately think I need to get a tooth pulled or something. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
But there's a lot of other stuff going on there.
A lot of other things can happen. But
yeah. I still keep biting my lip all the time.
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that on Saturday Night Live with Bob Newhart? Just stop it. That was this whole therapy thing.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I've got a fear of being buried in the box. Well, stop it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Seriously, things like that as we get older, and as you're getting older, Matt. Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, a lot of medications will dry your mouth, and that's the most common reason for ending up biting your lip, and you just don't have the lubrication in your mouth you used to. When I first met you, I got to tell this. I thought maybe you had a kindergartner there or something. I'm not even sure that I didn't think you were a student, because you look so young. I mean, you got a little age. I mean, how long ago did we meet?
Thank you. We started in 2018, so
not even 10 years.
No.
I remember the first time I saw you, I think it was at Trinitas. I think you probably had a camera in your hand. But my wife, she told me, she's like, oh, there's this new Fuller family. Anyway, but I saw you, and I thought, well, he's probably got some really young kids. When I found out you had older ones, I was like, oh. He doesn't look that old. So,
yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've gotten that before, right?
Yeah.
Well, now that you got facial hair, too.
Yeah, that helps a little bit. And now that it's getting some gray ones in there, that helps, too. But, yeah, Mandy and I both have always been
young looking.
Assumed we were way younger than we are.
Yeah.
So.
Good for you. Well, after we got married, I told you we moved to Cape Coral. And Kathy, we were a little concerned about having kids because of cancer, so we started trying pretty quick. But Rob was born a year and a half after we were married, just so the rumors don't start flying. Year and a half after we were married. But she went to the library down there to try to get a library card, and I think we'd had braces put back on her because she's missing a few teeth. And the librarian was like, "You're gonna have to bring your mother with you." And she said, "I'm married and I'm pregnant." She goes, "Oh, honey, no, you're not." I was just feeling so bad for Kathy. It's like, yes, I'm married and my husband's a dentist. No. Anyway, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, she would say she doesn't look that young anymore, but she still looks younger than me, but she is.
So you have a number of grandkids running around now?
We got 8 of them, yeah. So Hannah has 6. They're all adopted in some form.
Which is great.
Yeah. Few siblings, it is great.
We love adoption.
We love every one of them like they're our own. I mean, they just seem like they've always been.
It's a beautiful picture of what Christ does for us.
No, exactly. It's exactly what it is. Yeah. So we're all adopted in. Then Rob and Amber have 2. They have Selah, who's, I guess, 4. And then they just had Silas, who was born December 7th. So
oh, okay.
Fairly
Congratulations.
new. A couple of redheads.
That's awesome.
I have 2 sons of married redhead girls. And so, yeah.
So Rob, is he named after your dad?
Yeah, so he's named after both of our dads, Robert Thomas. So her dad was Thomas. And he passed away really just right after Ivan, nothing related to Ivan, but that's when he had a heart attack and 70 years old. Turned 70 in the hospital, in fact. So, yeah. He was Robbie for a while until you get to that age where it's like, I don't want to be Robbie anymore. I was probably 3rd grade or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's an attorney up in Chattanooga now.
Okay. And he's your oldest?
He's our oldest.
And then Hannah?
Then Hannah, who's 3 years younger than him. And then Ben is 6 years younger.
Okay.
So everybody thinks Ben was like an accident or an afterthought. And, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just thought, we're pretty good parents. We hate to waste this. Now that we, you know, and then of course Ben's totally different than the other 2. Yeah. But,
in what way?
They're all been a joy. Rob and Hannah were pretty quiet. In fact, Hannah, we'd take her to drop her off for church things, and they'd be like, you know, we'd pick her up, and they're like, "Does she talk?" I'm like, "She talks." But she'd sit there, and people would say, I don't like the way she's looking at me. I said, "She's trying to figure you out." So Hannah's always been the studier. She'll watch people and figure them out. She still does. She's like her mother, figures things out pretty quickly. Ben is the talker. We used to have nice, quiet rides to church, and Ben came out. I said, "Ben, we're quiet people. We're quiet people. We don't." But he's just, man. He's the one. You say, you know, the others. I'd say, "How was your day?" "Oh, it's good." No. How was you? You know, you have to pull words. It's like, tell me what you learned. Tell me something you learned you never knew before. And Ben would just start talking. So he was the one you didn't have to pull anything out of. In fact, I tell this story because we were eating breakfast one morning, and he started telling about a dream he was having. And so I went up and got a shower, came back down dressed for work, and he's still telling about the dream. I'm like, I can't even remember what I dreamed the night before, much less talk about it for 15 minutes. But Ben I relate to. I came home from work one time, and she told me something Ben had done, and she said, you want to go talk to him? I said, I got this. I know exactly what's going through his head. So later she asked Ben, "Did you tell Dad why you did that?" And he goes, "I didn't have to." He knew. So the whole time I'm disciplining him. I'm like looking over my shoulder, waiting for a lightning bolt or something. Because I deserve it. You know, I know exactly where every sin I see my children in, I'm like, I know where that came from.
Oh yeah,
that's all me.
For sure.
It's kind of convicting too when you watch your children and.
It is, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, she picked that up from me. But Rob is definitely Kathy's side of the brain. They can read a book and have a discussion about it that I just don't follow. I think I'm pretty smart to listen to them talk, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, both of them can carry on a conversation about a book. And I was the one in college. I'd read, they'd have us read something in literature. We'd read something, and next day, and they'd be like, "What does that black butterfly symbolize?" And I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was just a butterfly. Yeah. And everybody goes, "It symbolizes death." I'm like, oh, okay. Totally missed that.
Yeah.
So now that symbolism, meanings of things, I was very concrete.
I always joke that after I've read a book, now I need to talk to Sean Hadley to tell me what I was supposed to get out of this.
That's exactly. Well, I asked him I think it was Sean asked about The Winter of Our Discontent. But I wanted to know about the ending of it. I don't know. I hadn't read that. I'm like, wait, didn't you just Steinbeck or something? Anyway, but one time we read, back when, was it Frank Peretti wrote those? He wrote that series of books. Anyway, somebody said, "What was the book about?" I said, "Oh, it was about demons and stuff." Kathy goes, "No, it was about the power of prayer." And I was like, "This Present Darkness" or something?
Yes,
one of those things?
I never read it, but I remember it.
It's about the power of prayer. I'm like, oh. I thought I was thinking about it. I'm like, she's right. That's what it was about. I read that whole book and missed the theme of it. Yeah. So I do better with biographies. And concrete stuff.
Yeah, same. Well, we weren't classically educated. So.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting, as my kids were, to try to do some catch up, because I was never strong on the history and literature side. I mean, that was always a struggle for me, and so, but I don't think it's an excuse now. I mean, I've tried to work that side of my brain. I don't think it's a good excuse. That's just not me. That's not the way I am. I think Ken Trotter one time said, I think the well-educated man can have a 5-minute conversation with anybody about anything. You should be able to talk to a senator for 5 minutes. You should be able to talk to a plumber for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And be able to have a conversation. So that's what I kind of strive to do. But that other side of the brain about history and stuff, man, I'm going to be doing more listening than talking. But I think I hopefully I've caught up some.
Well, I know I've read some of the great books because of Trinitas and the kids reading them. And I'm like, oh, I want to know what's going on with this stuff too. So. Yeah. And then there's somebody around that can tell me what I read.
Yeah, Dr. Hadley.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched his too. His was very interesting.
Oh, good.
It's fun getting to know about people.
Yeah, that's what I love. The conversations afterwards about, oh, I didn't know this or I didn't know that. Yeah. And it's good that they're having an impact.
It is.
Yeah. So 20 years from now, when your grandkids are watching this, let's go further. 40 years from now, when relatives are watching this, what do you want them to know about you?
I think 10 years ago I would have said I want to be remembered for generosity. I don't think that's it anymore. I think I just want them to see the grace and mercy of Christ through me. That's really what I want them to see. And, God is just good. And, everything that's happened to me is either grace or mercy. So, yeah. I don't know. I'd like him to look at occasionally at one of my shots and go, okay, there's see what I see in it. I mean, that's kind of fun. Or to have the piece of furniture I made. Yeah. One of the things I made, I don't want it to be, because I know how this is. I had a granddad who later in his life, my dad's dad, decided he was going to paint. And so his name was Ed Nolan.
Oh, okay.
So at the bottom of his paintings, it says Ed Noland, which is unfortunate because for a long time they were hanging we had a little house in North Carolina. They were hanging up there, and they were like a sacred cow. You couldn't throw away the pictures of granddads. They were terrible. He was an awful artist. So I don't want to be anything like that, where finally I did. I was like, all right, there is no sense in keeping this picture. He wasn't an artist. That's not what he did with his life. He wasn't good at it. But I hope they'll see something I've done and go, yeah, granddad did that. And hold on to that little piece.
Yeah. You actually threw the art out?
I did.
Oh, man.
It was a deer in a stream, and the colors were bad. The painting's technique was bad. It's just not a good picture. And people would come back. I mean, my dad used to let patients stay in there. I bought it from my dad. It was something he built in 1975. But and I bought it from him. But the picture hung there for years, and people would go, I learned something about you. I didn't know you were a painter. I was like, that's not me. It wasn't me. That was my granddad.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. But I don't want anything to be like a sacred cow. Like, please throw this away. If it's, if you look at this piece of woodworking and go, he was off that day. He should have he should have used this for firewood. Yeah. Just please throw it away.
Well, there you go. You have permission to throw this stuff out now.
Absolutely. Throw it out. It's not So I don't know. There are little pieces around still my grandparents that remind me of them, and that's good. I've got a bookcase. I was reading my great-grandfather's diary, and he's like, oh, my bookcase came today. Well, I know it's that one because I got it from my granddad.
Oh, that's so cool. He willed
it to me. Yeah, and so that kind of thing's kind of fun because they've always been readers, readers in the family. He was a pastor, and my granddad was a pastor. Got some of their books, but so I do like having some of the pieces that were theirs, and plus, stuff was just well made then.
Yeah.
Even things you'd order from the Sears catalog were just really good pieces of furniture. Now I'm afraid it's just IKEA, and we're just going to throw it away when we're done with it.
Right. It's so cheaply made, all of it.
Yeah.
So cheaply made and so expensive to purchase.
It is. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
You got to put it together yourself.
And then you got to put it together yourself. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Nolan.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, Ed. Yeah, you get used to that.
That feels so wrong. But thank you so much for being here today.
Been a pleasure.
Appreciate your friendship and
thank you. You too.
Just your life in our community.
Well, thank you. And you've been an inspiration too. I love seeing your photography and what you do with the videos. I look at that and I have great respect for it because I know what it takes to put some of those videos together and the editing and the time that goes into it. And it's a lot. So all of these hobbies that just people look at it and go, yeah, I bet you just threw that together. There's some work goes behind it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that with you as well. So
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
saying
you.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Nolan.
Thank you. My pleasure. How long was that? That was 3 hours.
See, I told you.
Oh my gosh. I talked
You didn't
way
think
too
we could do
much.
it.
No.